Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto becomes the new pawn of Rias. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content, and do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. Rias Grammari's POV. Finally! I exclaimed, stretching my arms and flopping down onto my chair, a crimson magical seal appearing atop of the desk and absorbing the stack of papers that I was just now working on. Releasing a sigh of relief, I settled my gaze onto the ceiling and allowed my thoughts to drift away to the newest member of the peerage, Issei. It had been just a day that I had resurrected the boy as a pawn, using no more no less than all 8 of her pawns, a very dangerous and large amount to invest on one single boy. Right now it was still very early in the morning and the rest of the club had yet to arrive. Not being able to catch some sleep due to all the recent events plaguing my mind, I spent the entire night pacing around the club, thinking about the best ways to deal with the fallen that were in NY territory, the recent stray that had appeared and the newest pawn. The boy still doesn't know what I did. Soon he will wake up thinking that it was all a dream, or freak out completely. I will have to talk with him about it before he gets himself killed again. Whatever it is that he has, it really did a good job attracting the attention of the fallen. I guess it can be of some use. Can use this situation to help explain it and get him to my side. It shouldn't be that difficult. With a one-track mind such as his, if I play my cards right, I will soon have him on my fingers, I thought, crossing my legs and adopting a thinking pose. Now that I think about it, the stray can also serve to show Issei how fights go and his place in the board that only leaves the fallen. What should I do with them? I wondered, thinking about the possibilities. Things were fitting so perfectly that all that I had to do was play the right cards and it would be like shooting 3 birds with a single bullet. Time flew by quickly while I was lost in my thoughts. 30 minutes, 1 hour, 2? I didn't know, but I was brought out of them when I felt a sudden spike of demonic energy just outside the club room. Recognizing the energy as that of my queen and best friend, Akino, I quickly got up and made my way outside, where bright lights started flashing. You should get that temper checked, you know? Frying somebody because of one question isn't polite, I heard somebody say from outside the club room. The sound of his voice came along with a loud shut up and several flashes of light. Quickly opening the door, another light flashed even brighter and now I felt the heat from it. It was Akino, flying above the entrance with the wings that she had gained from the queen piece, several magical arrays next to her sparkling with electricity and pointing towards a tall, whiskered, shirtless, blonde-haired man, whom didn't even seem to be fazed by Akino's glare. To say that his were very unique would be an understatement, his iris being of a bright golden color that matched the color of his spiky, untamed golden hair. His pupils being a mixture of a bar and a slash that somewhat resembled a cross. Though his eyes weren't the only thing that called out attention, his attire consisted of a baggy dark orange pants with white and red tribal flames on his left and right leg respectively, a white sash giving several loops around his waist, acting as his neck a necklace with 7 jade magatamas hanged loosely around it, the sunlight revealing strange mystic letters on each of the jewels. The flames ornamenting his pants matched that of the tattoos that he carried on his back and arms and the front of his chest, which contributed to give him an exotic and unique appearance along with 3 pairs of lines on either of his cheeks. Well, I guess that answers the question. Lightning, the smell of tainted light mixed together with the darkness of a devil, a short temper to touchy subjects. Yup, definitely the big crow's daughter. What was his name again? Bernard Baron Barabbas Barak Barakiel. The man exclaimed jovially with a large grin, effortlessly dodging another stream bolt of lightning courtesy of Akino. What is the meaning of this? I nearly shouted, bring both of their attention to me. What is happening here, Akino? And you, what business do you have here and why are attacking my servant? I then asked, pointing towards the blonde man. I was coming here when he suddenly appeared behind me, Bucho. I didn't even notice a whisper of his presence until he suddenly questioned me about my heritage and what I was. Akino said, landing next to me. That hair, a Gremry, I see, it makes sense. So the Storm Crow's daughter has become a servant of the Gremry family. That explains the smell of a devil and the wings. How peculiar. I didn't expect to come across the big bad bat's little sister in a town like this, he said, turning towards me completely, allowing me to see his eyes. Strange golden eyes like none I have seen before, now locked with my own blue set, not a bead of nervousness, not a twinkle of fear for my status as Lucifer's younger sister. Then suddenly 2 crimson magical circles appeared on the ground in front of me and out came Kiba and Kaneko, my knight and bishop, Kiba already holding white broadsword. I felt Akino's magic flare from afar came as fast as I could. What is the situation, Bucho? Kiba said and then asked, Kaneko nodding in agreement. You smell like a cat. The man said, pointing towards Kaneko, how rare to find a Nekashu these days, and you posse's sword birth. You have quite the peerage, Gremry-san. Very interesting indeed, he mused. Whether he was talking to me or to himself was hard to tell. From the corner of my eyes I noticed both Kaneko and Kiba stiffen slightly after the strange man deduced what they were. Though frankly, even I was starting to get goosebumps, but I can't allow myself to show it in front of my precious peerage. And you are? You know who I am, and my peerage. It is only polite to introduce yourself. And now that you know who I am, you should be aware of what you are doing by trespassing into NY territory. This is your territory, oh my, I hardly noticed the names Naruto Uzumaki. Doubt you heard about it though. He was interrupted by a large, bright bolt of lightning that struck him from above, courtesy of Akino. Oh my, I am going to enjoy this so much, Akino said from beside me with a large blush on her face, increasing the potency of the lightning to the point where all that I could see was the shadow of the man inside it, completely immobile, no doubt paralyzed by the intensity of Akino's lightning. I think this is too much, Akino, said Kiba with an awkward smile as Akino started sending more and more lightning bolts towards him. Too much? Oh Kiba, I am just getting started, he and I are going to have so much fun together, Akino replied to him. From my position I could see a few beads of sweat rolling down her face, no doubt because of the enormous amount of magic that she was pouring. Even though she said that she was just getting started, I could see that she wouldn't be able to keep it up for long. And true to that, after a few moments, her lightning bolts slowly started to die down, to reveal Naruto to be completely fine. You know how rude, you know that it's impolite to interrupt somebody mid-speech. Have you no manners? Perhaps I was expecting too much from devils, a devil fallen hybrid, he said casually with a bored look in his eyes. Impossible. I and the rest of my peerage thought, how can he simply stand like that? Not a single burn, he looks as if nothing happened. To be honest, I expected more from you, for the daughter of the Storm Crow, you sure turned out to be a disappointment, he said again and then pointed his finger towards Akino. A small golden spark was all the warning that we got, but before we could do anything, it was too late. A light flashed and my body suddenly went numb, the world started to spin and shake, my legs felt wobbly and a feeling of dread started to build inside of my body. Bakram resounded moments later, deafening my ears and further numbing my senses. In my hazed state, a shadow loomed in front of me. As my mind started to recover its senses and the images cleared themselves, I came to recognize that shadow. It was Akino, and she was facing me, her ponytail undone, and her hair freely flowing along the wind, a pool of blood forming in the front of her shirt. Rias, she mumbled, fumbling towards me and coughing out a globs of blood. Instinctively I held out my arms and caught her body going numb in my arms. Bottom. My heart started accelerating. I could no longer feel her pulse, nor the queen piece inside her. She was dead. Besides me, Kiba and Kaneko launched themselves towards the man, Kiba disappearing in a burst of speed and appearing besides the man in the split of a second. Whoosh! Kiba slashed at the man's waist, appearing several meters away in a crouching stance with his sword extended. But something was wrong, and it took me too long to realize what it was. A hand-sized chunk of his chest was missing, blood started pouring from the wound and he fell to the ground, his blade shattering into pieces. Bodium. My heart started to beat even faster, more and more rage building up inside of me at each passing second. Kiba and Akino were both dead, gone, forever, and Kaneko was still rushing towards the Mono. He isn't a man, he is a monster. Kaneko! I called out to her, preparing to send a wave of my power of destruction upon him, but it was too late. Raising her little fists, Kaneko went to strike Naruto in the stomach, only for him to step aside. Squelch! He slashed at Kaneko's right ribs with his bare hands, ripping it apart all the way to her shoulder. Seconds later she fell to the ground beside Kiba, a soft thud resounding in the area as her body landed on the floor. How could you? I shouted with a snare, the ground underneath me glowing a dark crimson color as my body became surrounded in the power of destruction. I will fucking kill you! I shouted once more, creating dozens of crimson magical circles around me, all pointing towards him. He however remained unfazed with my rage, his face portraying the same bored look, not even showing the smallest amount of worries as a wave of my magic closed upon him, engulfing his body in it completely. It's over, I heard from behind me, my blood running cold as a feeling of dread overcame my soul. In an act of desperation I tried to turn around and defend myself, but it was too late. All that I could do was watch as his fist came towards my face, and I knew at that moment that it was indeed over. Ko Academy, outside the ORC, ploft, 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 resounded across the area as Rias, Sona, Tsubaki and Akino dropped to the ground on their knees, gasping for air. Naruto a few feet away from them. Interesting, you all have a strong will. Not strong enough to break free of my illusion on your own, but strong nonetheless, said Naruto with a neutral expression, turning away from the four. It was all an illusion. How? When? Rias asked dumbly. It was all too real. Never had she heard about an illusion that powerful before, that could make her feel the loss and deactivation of a piece. What fun would there be if I simply told you? Don't think I do have time to explain. Even if I wish to do so, the rest of your peerage members should be arriving along with a horde of humans, and for as much as I love pleasantries, I have things to do in the city, so farewell Gremory-san, Citri-san, Naruto said, walking away from the four and disappearing in thin air. Wait! Rias shouted, but it was already too late. He was already gone. I wouldn't go after him if I were you, Rias, Sona said from beside her friend, getting to her feet. At first I didn't recognize him, but don't those tattoos seem familiar to you? At that Rias paused for a bit, thinking about her friend's words. It can't be that was him? Yes. There must have been something in the illusion that kept us from realizing that. I don't know what it was that you saw in yours, but I don't doubt it that he can make it in reality. We should avoid him from now on. He isn't a person that we have a chance to defeat. I also don't know if telling this to your brother or my sister would be a good idea. Both would storm their way here as soon as word reaches their ears, and I fear to think what would happen if they battle. Besides, we are still alive. If he wanted us dead, then I don't think any of us would still be here. Sona replied in a serious voice, adjusting her glasses. Sona is right, Rias. I think it is best we avoid him from now on, and now we have other things to think about, like our newest family member. Aquino said, trying to lighten the mood around them, though it did little to convince the other three. Not that they could blame her, they were all in a silent agreement that none wanted to go through that same experience again, ever. You're right, Aquino, we should warn the rest of the peerage though. It is best that we avoid conflict with him at all costs. The last thing that I want is for Kurt to become a battleground because of a misunderstanding. Rias said, the other three nodding in agreement. Yes, I will talk with my own peerage during lunch break. I got to go to the student council room. We'll contact you if anything happens. Let's go, Tsubaki. Sona said, quickly leaving along with her queen. Though I have to admit this could turn out to be quite the opportunity. Could be quite advantageous to us if we can bring the harvester to our side, Rias said to herself. No, Rias, Aquino said firmly, he is too dangerous. You saw what he could have done to us. He could have done anything to us, Aquino. We were at the palm of his hands. If he wanted to kill us, then we wouldn't be alive and having this conversation. And if he wanted to use me or Sona as leverage, then we would be in a much different situation. I say it is worth a shot. Who knows, maybe he can help me with my little problem. Rias replied, turning to the club, leaving Aquino standing outside. I just hope you are right, Aquino said to herself. Rias's logic was good, but was it worth the risk? Somewhere in the streets of Kuo. How peculiar for two devils to share the same area. Not something you see very much these days. They have been getting more and more greedy recently. Naruto said to himself, strolling through the various stores and stalls that were spread across the streets of Kuo. Though I guess those terraces are a bit different from the norm still. If the house of Gremory and Citri own this place, why do I smell crows? Barracuda isn't the type to send somebody to watch over his daughter. His pride wouldn't let him. That leaves me with three options. Either they are in agreement with the devils, plotting a way to kill the heiresses, or there is something that they want in this city. I should keep tabs on them, but first, I should fill up the tank. I wonder if there is any good ramen around here, he said to himself, glancing through the vast number of pedestrians that found it hard to keep their eyes away from him. Attention, something that he used to crave so much for himself, was now nothing more than a bother. Time changed people, their views on life, their goals, their thoughts, their morals. The things that he once craved for had become trivial and troublesome. But for as much as it bothered him, his pride would never allow himself to admit that the stares of humans could affect him. After a good 30 minutes of strolling, Naruto found himself in front of a small, wooden restaurant which seemed to give off the rather pleasant smell of fresh ramen. Seems familiar, Naruto thought with a small, nostalgic smile on his face. I guess I could give it a try. And with that thought in mind, Naruto went over to the small restaurant named Ichino's Ramen. Standing on the counter was an old couple around their 60s. Due to the time, there were no clients and they were still arranging the balcony. Excuse me, it may be a bit early, but are you serving ramen now? Naruto asked with a polite smile. The couple got a little startled with Naruto's sudden appearance, but they quickly calmed themselves. We normally would only start serving in an hour and I still have lots of preparations to do, like heating up the stove, but I can start in around 30 minutes if you would be willing to wait, the man said, going to the back of the kitchen. I got some time to spare, go on. Naruto replied, taking a seat and making himself comfortable by placing his right elbow on the counter and resting his head on his fist. Young man, what type of ramen would you like? Asked the old lady, taking an apron from the wall. Miso, and the name's Naruto. I feel like I will be coming here often, so might as well get familiar with ourselves, lady. Naruto replied, flashing the old lady a smile and giving her the seated version of the nice guy pose, complete with sparkling teeth and a shiny background. Naruto's excitement earned him a mirthful chuckle from the old lady, who then nodded in return. Well then, Naruto, if it is like that, then I'm Riho, the old coot in the back is Omer. Just sit tight and soon your ramen will be ready. Naruto waited patiently for his ramen, 30 minutes that turned out to be more than worth it. Naruto found himself enjoying it so much that he repeated, several times, so many that it actually impressed the old couple. And before he knew it, he had spent the entire morning there with them, going between chatting about daily life and eating ramen. He only came up to his senses when several students of Ko passed by the restaurant, in particular, a certain brown-haired epee-loving teenage boy that had just recently been turned into a devil, Issei, which was now passing by with his two trusty friends Matsuda and Motohama, who were talking about watching porn videos on their way inside Matsuda's house. I want to grope some tits, said a certain brown-haired boy, hugging onto Matsuda, who was also crying because it was the last DVD of our porno marathon. After leaving school, they started watching porno with high spirits. They were all happy and excited when we started watching porn straight after school, but the more porn they watched, the more they got depressed instead. Soon also popped up the question, why don't we have a girlfriend? Which brought out a long discussion between them, and the more they discussed about it, the more they felt like crying after. In the sidelines, Motohama tried trying to act cool, but there are tears flowing from his eyes behind his glasses. After that, Issei started wondering what 3 boys who are all glum while watching porn looked like. Obviously, the answer is 3 unpopular guys. Damn it. I feel like hating this world after thinking that there are guys of my age who are having sex with a girl right now. While I thought about it, the last film ended and I saw that it was already dark outside. Taking a look at my watch, I realized that it's already 10 o'clock. I told my parents that I'm at Matsuda's place, but they will worry about me if I stay here any longer, and I will also be late for school tomorrow. Anyways, I'll get going now, Issei said, getting up from his spot and packing up his stuff. After that, the other 2 also looked at their watches and stood up to get ready to pack up. See ya, Issei shouted to Matsuda, him and Motohama splitting up with Matsuda at the entrance. The streets were really calm, and there were hardly any people besides the 2 walking by. Then again, it was to be expected given the time, but even then a strange feeling arose in his gut, telling him that something was wrong. It's a beautiful night. Since it's a good night, it's normal to feel like watching porn, Motohama said, looking at the sky. He seemed really down. Well, it was probable that by tomorrow, both Motohama and Matsuda would return to their usual selves anyhow. See ya tomorrow, Issei replied back, waving towards him with a smile. Yeah, have a nice dream, he said back, and for a moment Issei wondered if there was anything strange in another guy wishing him good dreams. Looking back, Issei saw that Motohama started to wave him goodbye from afar, but he didn't seem energetic while he did it. Issei then made a mental note to send a text message afterwards to cheer him up. A few minutes passed by after splitting up with Motohama, and Issei was still walking home when he started to feel the energy flowing within his body rise. It's a symptom of the overflowing with power at night thing. Like he thought, there is definitely something wrong with his body. It isn't a normal phenomenon. His eyesight improved along with all other of his 5 senses. His eyes and ears became especially good. He could even hear conversations from other people's houses and see the street even though it was night, which was really weird because he could even see clearly at places where there are no street lights. It felt like he was getting stronger day by day. The feeling was strange. While it was good, it sometimes came by with the strange feeling of being watched by someone. Something that he had been feeling in particular for some time now. Suddenly Issei started to feel a mysterious atmosphere on the road ahead of him. His body started shaking very badly, from head to toe, and sweat started to pour from his forehead, and the more he walked, the worse it got. Then in the road ahead of him, a silhouette became visible. A man wearing a suit, glaring straight at him with fierce eyes. Issei's body felt like it would freeze just by looking into the man's eyes. Isn't this what you call killing intent? I can definitely feel hostility from him. No, this is something more dangerous. This is definitely killing intent, Issei thought, unconsciously taking a few steps backwards. Seeing Issei walk backwards, the man started to walk in his direction. A pervert. A dangerous person. Am I in trouble? This is bad. That's because my body hasn't stopped shaking. Why did I have to encounter some dangerous guy on my way home? Issei thought, taking a few more steps backwards. This is rare. To meet someone like you in a place like this, the man said calmly, with an amused smirk, still walking in my direction. Oh shit! What should I do if he takes out a knife? I don't know any self-defense martial arts, nor have I ever had a fight before, Issei thought, until an idea popped up into his mind. My strength which powers up during night. That's it. I can use it to run away from here. The guy who is releasing a perverted atmosphere continued walking towards my direction. Trying to run away? Who is your master? It must be a person with a very low rank, or with a weird hobby to choose this place as a territory. So, who is your master? The mysterious man said, still walking at Issei's direction. I don't even know what the heck you are saying, Issei shouted, turning around and sprinting out of the place at his top speed. Fast. He was insanely fast, much more so than even he thought he could. So without even bothering to look back, Issei continued his dash through the streets of Ko, some familiar, some unfamiliar. All that he knew was that he had to keep on running until the man couldn't catch him anymore. After around 15 minutes, he come into an open area. A park. Halting his footing, Issei started walking towards the fountain at the center, slowly inhaling air to regain his breath. Upon reaching the fountain, I looked around the park one more time. There was just something mysterious on the area that I couldn't quite place my hand on it. That was when he remembered. No wonder the park was so familiar. It was the last place I visited on his date with Yuma. A coincidence, or a miracle? He didn't have much time to think because a cold chill run down my back. Someone is behind me, Issei thought, slowly turning around, a black feather dropping in front of him. Did you think I'd let you escape? That's why lowly beings are a pain to handle, said a voice from behind him, a man wearing a suit with black wings growing behind his back. It was the same suspicious guy from before. Tell me the name of your master. It's a hindrance to get bothered by your kind. For that we will wait. Are you a stray? If you have no master, then that will explain the worried expression on your face. The suspicious guy started mumbling to himself. The situation is serious, but Issei suddenly remembered the incident that he had in his dream. The dream about that one date, which at the very end of that dream, he was killed by Yuma, exactly in front of the water fountain. By Yuma, who also had black wings on her back. Humph. I don't feel any presence of your master nor your comrades. I don't see anything that is trying to hide its presence either. And there's no magic circle appearing here. According to the current situation, you are a stray, so it won't be a problem if I kill you. The guy said, raising his hand, light gathering in the center of his palm and shaping itself into something that resembled a spear. What a foolish way of thinking, Crow. Spoke a voice from behind the fallen, the pressure in the area rising with the arrival of the newcomer. Ploft. Issei fell to the ground unconscious, his civilian mind not prepared for the sudden stress. Though it wasn't his fault, the fallen didn't seem to be faring much better as well. The effect that the fallen had on Issei, the newcomer had on him. A cold chill ran down his spine and his body went stiff. If the person is hiding his presence, then how do you expect to see or sense him? You don't really make any sense at all. The voice said to itself, walking over to the light post and revealing himself to be Naruto, whose stare portrayed how bored he felt, the tension easing out. I believe the boy is a property of the Gremmeries, even though he doesn't know it yet, Naruto said, walking over towards Issei. After every step that he took, the fallen found himself giving another one back. And you are what of his? You don't feel like a devil, actually. You don't feel like anything. The fallen said, gritting his teeth and gripping onto his spear. You are asking me questions when I am not the one you should be worrying about. You should worry about her. Naruto said, pointing to the right, where Rias stood in all her unholy glory, a crimson magic circle shining underneath her. Keep your hands away from him, she warned, her hands sparkling with the power of destruction. That hair, you are a Gremmery, so what the blonde man said is true, he really does belong to your household. The fallen replied, taking a more relaxed posture. Yes, my name is Rias Gremmery, and who are you, besides a fallen angel-weight blonde man? You mean a very tall guy with golden eyes and tattoos on his shoulder? She asked, glancing around, her body a bit more stiff than before. Kaneko and Akino appearing next to her, ready to protect her from any sign of danger. Yes, can't you see? He is right over here? The man said, pointing towards where Naruto was, only to find him completely gone. Huh, he was here just a moment ago, it couldn't have been my imagination, he said, baffled at how such a tall man who stuck out so much could disappear so fast. Nobody was there when I arrived, fallen angel. Rias answered firmly and truthfully. I guess it doesn't matter anymore who knew. This town is currently under the control of the next head of the great Gremmery family. My name is Donasek. I apologize for the misunderstanding. I don't think it is wise to let your servant run around so loosely. Next time he can end up with someone less cordial than myself, he said, dispersing the spear of light. I appreciate the advice, but bear in mind that if anything like this happens again, I will make you regret the day you cross paths with the House of Gremmery. Rias replied dramatically. No offense to your noble household, but the same thing stands for you. I pray that you and I never again cross paths, he said, taking flight and leaving the area through a barrier in the sky. Blonde man? Could it be? Akino asked Rias, a bit of worry in her face. Yes. Rias nodded. It would seem so. He also may be the reason why Issei is unharmed. Like I said, he doesn't have any intention to kill us. She then added, inspecting Issei's body. Not finding any bad injuries besides the lump on his head, she got up and turned away. He sure is unlucky to run into a fall and take him to his house, Kaneko. Tomorrow we will have the talk with him and introduce him to the peerage and his duties. We can't allow something like this to happen again. I think this is the right place, Issei mumbled, glancing between a note in his hand and his school's old building. On the note it was written, come to the school's old building for the answers that you seek. The note was only a little bit creepy, but there wasn't much that he could do. He needed answers, and if the answers were in there, then he would have to go. Hello? Is there anybody there? He called out, cautiously approaching the large wooden entrance, only to receive no reply. Taking another step closer, the door started to creak open, sending shivers down the poor boy's spine. The place was rumored to be haunted by devils and ghosts, and it had become a taboo to adventure inside the building. Swallowing the lump in his throat, Issei silently counted to 3 and barged into the room, and contrary to the ruined and decaying place that he was expecting, he came to find a very clean place with Victorian-styled couches and chair. Holy moly! He shouted internally, steam coming out of his nose, because right there a few meters away from him were 2 of the best pair of apes in the school, along with the school's most popular loli. They were all dressed, but those were just details that didn't stop him from shamelessly ogling and stripping the girls in front of him. His mind was so focused on Rias's and Akino's that he didn't even acknowledge the presence of the number 1 focus of his hatred, Kiba, who was leaning against the wall behind Rias's desk and herself. So you really came? I was starting to think you wouldn't show up, Rias said, leaning onto the desk, unintentionally or not showing a bit more cleavage, her personal weapon that had yet to fail to grant her leverage over boys. And like a cow being guided towards the slaughterhouse, Issei started to drool. Wait! Issei thought, snapping back into reality. How does Rias-senpai know? Or did she call me for something else? Could it be that I will finally get my chance with those glorious flesh bags? He then thought, going back to his original trail of thought, the rational part of him being kicked away by his perverted side. Please take a seat, Issei. Akino will be bringing in some tea in a bit, so make yourself comfortable, Rias said, getting up from her chair and sitting on the desk with her legs crossed, unintentionally or not flashing him her almost see-through thong. Gulping loudly, Issei nodded fast with a large goofy smile on his face, mentally chanting lucky various times like a mantra. Well, to get on to the reason that I brought you here, I believe you want answers on what happened last night, am I right? She asked, the corner of her lips twitching into a mischievous smile. Before I start, there is something that you must know, so don't interrupt me until I am finished. She then continued, a bit more serious this time. Swallowing it dry, Issei stiffened up and nodded nervously. What you saw last night was real. The winged man in the park is what you could call a fallen angel. Which is different from devils. Some think that we're the same, but that isn't true. They want to serve God, but it is too late for them. Their dark emotions force them into the underworld. The confusion is understandable because they too walk the earth misguiding humans. That man that was after you yesterday is one of them, a fallen angel, Issei muttered, looking at her strangely. Is something the matter? You look a bit overwhelmed. Rias asked, crossing her arms underneath her. That is probably because I am. You are talking about some really strange stuff. Issei replied nervously, rubbing the back of his head. Do you remember Yuma Amano? She then asked, making him flinch, which was all the confirmation that she needed. Of course you remember. You two dated for a little while, didn't you? The name struck a chord inside Issei. Memories of his past dates started flashing through his mind, and he started to unconsciously close his hands into fists. Where did you hear that name? Never mind, I don't want to know. Look, I don't know how you know so much about my life, but I am starting to feel a little uncomfortable here. So maybe we should just leave it at that, he said, getting up from his spot and turning towards the door, only to stop when he heard the slick sound of a sheet of paper falling onto the table, and in his curiosity, he turned around. Hook, line, sinker. His entire body froze upon seeing what was in the table, a picture of him and Yuma. Yuma? He gasped, taking a step backwards. That's right, it wasn't a dream, Issei. She's real. I love this picture of you too. You remember it, don't you? She asked, tilting her head to the side a bit. Of course I do, but how is this possible? He asked, completely baffled. The girl you went out with is also a fallen angel, just like the person that attacked you last night. But that is the thing, did I meet her? Matsuda and Motohama don't remember anything about her, and why isn't her number on my phone anymore? Issei asked, taking a step forward. Inwardly, Rias felt like face-palming. Outwardly she kept the same small smile. He was too close to the hook for her to blow it up now. Devils, fallen angels and angels can erase human memories. It usually is for the best of everyone. After a fallen angel accomplishes her goal, she erases all memory and records of herself from everyone around the target. Wait, what goal? Issei asked, coming out of his thoughts about how Yuma messed with those close to him. You mean Yuma's? She needed to kill you, but only after figuring out whether or not there was something in you that was dangerous or threatening. Once that was confirmed, you were stabbed through with a spear of light. Rias explained, making Issei remember when Yuma had told him to blame him for giving him the sacred gear. I guess that explains the freaky shit she was saying about God and the sacred something. Issei said to himself, looking down. It's basically a very intense and unique power that is found in a rare few. In fact, the only people I know of who have possessed it were historical figures, so you're kind of a big deal in here. Akino explained, lying through her teeth with a large smile on her face. Sacred gears weren't unique. There were various cases of people possessing the same type, and she did know more people to have one, like Kiba. But Issei didn't need to know that. For things to go as planned, they needed to boost his damaged ego a bit. 1. The thing is, this power can be so uncontrollable that some who have it become a threat to the underworld. Issei, please hold up your left hand. Okay, but I'm not very good at catch. Issei replied, raising his left hand up. Close your eyes and think of the part of your body that you feel is the strongest, then focus hard on that strength. Rias advised, leaning back on her desk. Somebody answer me, what would happen if that part happened to be the you-know-what? Wait, so we doing this now? There is a lot of pressure. It will get easier if you focus. Alright. He replied, squeezing his eyes shut. Focus, 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 foku. He started to chant, only to open his eyes until they inevitably landed on Rias's black thong. Very good, concentrate, you can do this. Rias urged him, completely unaware or not of where his true focus was. Ugh, I'm trying focus. Ack. I can't. I'm a weak soul. He gave up, flopping to the ground on his knees. The temptation of her see-through panties was just too much for his poor, perverted heart. You are not, it is just a little hard right now. Rias tried to comfort him, getting up from her desk. Yeah, it's hard. The only thing I can focus is the fact that your thong is see-through. Issei thought, meeting his eyes with her own. Are you sure this isn't some mistake? I mean, I'm not that cool. He then added, getting up, feeling a bit sad for having to say that out loud. A fallen angel found you a threat enough to kill you. It's not a mistake. Rias replied firmly. Yeah, and then she put a golden rod in me and somehow I am still here. How does that work? Issei retorted, and Rias pulled out a small flyer with a strange, well-made circle in it. Just before your life ended, you summoned me with your thoughts through this flyer, she informed him, lifting up the flyer and showing it to him. Summoned? I remember thinking about her hair and how red it is, and so that day you were revived and reborn as an honored member of the House of Rias Gremory. She continued dramatically, bat-like wings coming out of her back. Streets of Ko. What a disappointment, Naruto sighed, walking down the streets. He had just came back from observing Issei, and he couldn't be more disappointed. He had lowered his expectations on the boy, after spending a few hours watching him and his two friends watch porn, hug and cry like babies, but this was just very, very disappointing. 2. The boy allowed Rias to play him like a piano. Sure, there wasn't much he could do. If he tried to run, he would be captured, or marked as a stray, but still there was no resistance, no questioning about his position, nothing, and all that the devil had to do to snag him was show a bit of her and flash him her panties. Though I have to admit, she really did a good job manipulating him then again. With how naive the boy is, he might as well start walking around with a big sign written "Free Slave." Naruto chuckled, the devil really did a good job manipulating the boy. But why does this bother me so much? He thought, stopping in front of the Ichinos' restaurant, which had several motorcycles parked at the entrance. Where is the rest of the money, old man? You fucking with us? There is still a lot missing. Do I need to remind you what we will do if you don't pay up? Shouted a young, bald-headed man from inside the restaurant. Aji-chan, you still serving? I want 3 bowls of miso ramen, Naruto asked, entering the small store, which was cramped up with some really charismatic bikers. Everyone in the restaurant sweat dropped. Did the man not know how to take a hint? Ugh, I don't think it is a good time now, Naruto started, only to be interrupted by the same bald guy from before. Yeah. The man then shouted, you heard the old man. Beat it, prick, or I why. Wham! Naruto grabbed the man's skull and slammed it onto the counter, cracking the wooden frame and knocking the biker out cold or killing him. They couldn't tell. They all froze, a cold chill running down their spines as Naruto settled his gaze upon them. Anybody else feels like sharing their thoughts? Naruto asked, a menacing aura appearing around him for the gang. None answered, their bodies wouldn't obey them. Then leave. Naruto pointed outside, and like a pack of scared rats that had just been spotted by a huge cat, they took their leader and scattered, none daring to look back. So Aji-chan, can I have my ramen now? Naruto asked, turning towards the old man, who then left towards the kitchen without question. Pardon my husband, it was a long day for him, he didn't mean to be rude. Riho said from her spot behind the counter, her ever-present grandma smile still intact. What was that about, Oba-san? Who were those people? Naruto asked the old lady, placing his elbow onto the counter and resting his head on his fist. They work for a mobster that runs this part of the city. It is a long story, don't think you want to hear it, she said, waving him off. Naruto, however, just shook his head in a no gesture. I have time, go on. It's not like I'm going anywhere now. Taking a pause, Riho sighed and nodded. You youngsters sure are persistent, aren't you? Fine then, better get yourself comfortable. I will fall asleep if I get more comfortable, please go on. Naruto said politely, and Riho nodded. Where do I start, she mumbled to herself, rubbing her chin with her right hand. A few years ago, my daughter and her husband died in an accident, and left us with our granddaughter to take care of. A very sweet girl, around your age. I'm sure you would get along just fine, she chuckled, but then got a downcast look. She is a very fragile girl, has a very bad health, lost her eyesight when she was 10 because of the accident, and her body suffers from a degenerative disease. The medicine is very expensive and me and my husband reopened the shop to help cope with it, but it still wasn't enough. So we resorted to them for a loan. But they invented a lot of taxes and there you know the rest. I see, Naruto said to himself while closing his eyes. He now knew what his newest target would be. Somewhere else. I can see better at night, I guess that's a plus. Issei said to himself, staring at the road ahead of him. It was now around midnight, and he was on his bicycle handing out leaflets, so that people could summon him easier. When humans with strong greed take these in their hands and wish for what they want, the devils will be summoned. You're my devil servant, she says. Can't tell me that it doesn't sound like a skizzy come on in a bondage club. He complained, remembering what it was that they had talked in the club. He had spent the entire day in the occult research club with Rias and the other members getting briefed on his duties as a devil, and the privileges that came along with it. Though he was quite excited for the job, she had told him that if he went well, then he could manage some servants of his own to do whatever he wished. She left out that it was his current situation as her servant, but those were just details for the boy and his dream to become a harem king. Flashback. If you work under me, your new life might become very bright, you know, Rias said with a smile, giving Issei a wink, who was still trying to cope with the fact that in exchange for being reincarnated as a devil by Rias, he would have to live on as her servant. It seems like that's how it is. He thought, those who get reincarnated as a devil from being human have to become the servant of the devil who reincarnated them. More like, this is the rule of the devils. What? I'm her servant? It might not be that bad to become the servant of a beauty, but still, I can't agree with it. He struggled, sure she was gorgeous, but staying the rest of his very long life as her servant? But you know, there are ranks among devils. It's something called peerage. I also have one. The place of your birth and your family background plays a big role in it, but there are also devils who have risen up. Everyone starts off as a novice first. Rias then added, seeing that he was starting to realize his position. Could you please stop talking like this as a recruiting commercial? But are you serious? I still can't believe it. Issei started complaining and Rias leaned close to his ear and started whispering something. Her crimson hair smells so nice. It feels like my brain will paralyze. Oh, wait, is this also demonic power? He thought, his mind becoming slightly dull. You might be able to start a life where you can become popular with girls you know? She whispered, a devilish smirk gracing in her face. And as quick as a trigger, those words brought out the desired effect on the boy. How? He asked excitedly, previous suspicions and doubt now gone, words coming out of his mouth before he even had time to think about it. His perverted guts, it was actually quite remarkable if it really is this bad. Wait, this may be the work of the demonic power Senpai cast onto me. Even I think I have a high tension than I usually do. His more rational side tried to reason, struggling in a losing battle against the combination of Rias's sweet words and her spells. Majority of the pure devils were killed in the war that took place long time ago. Because of that, devils started to desperately gather servants. Well, devils don't have the strength or the influence they originally had when they led their armies. Even so, we need to keep on increasing the number of the devils. Just like humans, the devils split in genders of male and female and are able to give birth. But even with normal birth, it will take a lot of time to get back to the same population as before. After all, devils have a very low birth rate. Then we won't be able to stand up against the fallen angels. So we find humans who seem to have potentials and make them into devils. As our servant, that is. So I'm servant after all. He sighed dejectedly, looking towards the ground. Oh, don't make a face like that. Now, I will get to the point. Since this only increases the number of servants, it doesn't increase the number of powerful devils. So the devils decided to give chances for power to reincarnated devils, those who were reincarnated from a human. They decided to give peerage to reincarnated devils as well, as long as they are powerful. Because of that, there are many devils in human society. There are also numbers of devils like myself who came to human society as well. Issei, even though you haven't realized it, I'm sure you have passed through some devils in this town. So devils were always nearby then? He exclaimed, a surprised look on his face. Yes. Though there are humans who can distinguish which ones are devils and those who can't. A person with a strong greed or a person who wants to get help from devils usually can distinguish us strongly. We are usually summoned by the ones who can distinguish between them, through the leaflet with magic circle that we give out. There are also a lot of people like you, Issei, who can distinguish devils but don't believe in our existence, though the majority of them usually believe it if they see our demonic powers. What? So the reason I summoned Senpai was because I had a strong greed, he thought, widening his eyes. Wait, the important thing is that there is also a chance for me as well. It must be very difficult, but it doesn't matter, I have a chance, he then thought excitedly. Then. That means I can also get a peerage with how I do things? He asked, excited at the prospect of getting his own peerage. Yes. It's not impossible. Of course, it would take a lot of time and effort to achieve though. Rias answered, and by a lot of time, she really meant it by the devil's lifespan, but there was no need to tell him that. Yeah! He shouted inside this clubroom, are you serious? Me? I'm able to make my own harem. I can have sex with them as well, right? Yes. I think it's fine if it's with your servants. Rias replied truthfully, if he had his servants, then he could do whatever he wanted with them, like how she could do whatever she wanted with him. A thunder struck his body. Impossible, he thought. Something like that is actually possible. In the real world and also as a human, it's really hard to build your own harem. There's no way you can gather herds of girls if you are just an ordinary human. That's because the situation I am currently in is bad. I don't even have a single girlfriend. Well, I did, but I was killed by my ex-girlfriend. It's different now. Now I can. Yeah. Being a devil rocks. Hell yeah. I can't calm myself anymore. I can probably throw away my porn magazine that I am secretly hiding, he shouted, but stopped to think about it, and if it was the right decision to make. No. Not the porno magazine. Not that. I can't throw that away. That's my treasure. I could still use that until my mum finds out about it. This and that is a different issue. Yeah. It's a different issue. He then concluded, nodding his head up and down. Fufu. This boy really is funny. Rias chuckled to herself, finding the whole situation very amusing. Era. It's just like you said, Bucho. He does make me feel like, I think I have a very idiotic brother now, Aquino added, giving one of her patented giggles. Issei chose to ignore that they were basically mocking him. It was after all his fault for saying it out loud. Anyway, I see. You are all right with being my servant, right? If you have potential, then you will eventually stand out. And then, you might be able to receive a peerage. She then asked, becoming slightly more serious, though she still had a very tiny smirk on her face that only one with a very trained eye would notice. Yes, Rias-senpai. Issei nearly shouted. Wrong. You will have to call me Bucho. Rias corrected him a bit sternly. Bucho? Can't I call you Wani-sama? He asked, getting a bit carried away. Though in truth, he always did wanted a Wani-sama. Most guys had the easy to call an older beauty a Wani-sama. She thought for it for a few seconds but then shook her head, That also sounds wonderful, but since I operate mainly in the school, being called Butcho has a better ring to it. This is a cult research club after all, and everyone here also calls me that. Okay. Then Butcho. Teach me how to be a devil, Issei said excitedly, giving a salute. At his words, a devilish smile came upon Rias's face. To Issei it seemed like she was truly happy. Fufufu, good reply. Good boy Issei. Okay, I will change you into a man, she said, bringing her fingers to his chin, and then sighed. But before you go give out the leaflets, there is something you must know. She then added, separating from him and going over towards the bookcase. Something I should know? Issei repeated, while she pulled out a large crimson book from the shelf. Yes, she nodded and handed to him the book. Besides what I have told you, there is one more thing that you should worry about. One more thing? He repeated, a bit nervous. Yes, a guy. The harvester, he is a tall and strong blond man, doesn't use shirt and has white and red flame tattoos on his arms. You will recognize him when and if you see him. He is in the area and you need to be very careful with him. Don't say anything that could possibly make him angry at you or us in general. If he does, then I fear that I won't be able to protect you. Harvester? He gulped. Is he really that strong that you can't beat him? Yes, she nodded frankly. I have no clue of his powers, or of how strong he is. Nobody does. So far all that we have is pieces of what he showed us. His epithet was given because all those he harms loses their souls. Even if they are healed, they die shortly after because of the missing part of their soul. His existence was only confirmed after the Great War. Before the war, nobody had survived to confirm his identity. That book in your hands was made after the Great War. A neutral yokai gathered information from the survivors of the war and pieces of history to write it and confirm his existence. My ancestor Zikram Baal took part of it and said what he saw during the war, and the one that he described was very different from the one I met yesterday. You've met him? He asked and she nodded. Yes, but like I said, he wasn't like the one that my ancestor described. I quote, the earth shook as thousands of spells struck the creature, but to no damage at all. All that we managed was infuriated even more. Its attacks became even more brutal, and his speed increased even further. All that stood in front of him were vertically torn in half. Metatron, a seraph that I was previously fighting with, dived in towards his encounter, but like all the rest, he was torn apart not a moment later. It was horrible. He descended onto the battlefield like a sudden storm and moments later only ashes and corpses remained. He had no thoughts but destruction and no strategy but annihilation. Once Rias was done, Issei gulped loudly once more. Wow, he seems scary. You mean that somebody like him is out there? She nodded yes, and we all should be on our best behaviors if he appears again. There is no telling on what he wants with us. All that the world knows about him is speculation, and if he were the monster described by my ancestor, then we wouldn't be alive anymore. I want to bring him to our side, but for that we have to be very careful with our approach. Don't worry about him now. All you have to know is that if he comes to you, be nice. Me and Akino will deal with it. You have other things to worry about, like becoming a harem king, right? Truly her manipulative abilities were nothing to scoff at. Just like that, all the worries on Issei's mind disappeared. I will awaken as a devil while serving under her from now on. No, I will rise up. This should be fine. After all, I can't revert back to being a human anymore, right? Then, I will just have to walk straight ahead. I've already accepted the situation I am in. It might sound stupid, but it's fine I guess. I have already convinced myself. It's more like my perverted guts are functioning to the max. It's also because my tension is high too. I'm relieved that I'm a guy who works for his ambition towards sex. Rather than thinking about the new world I step my foot in, I will just enjoy my current life. He thought, completely unaware that it was exactly what she wanted. Flashback end. Just the thought of having a harem of his own was motivation enough for him to go full throttle on his bike. I'm going to have a harem. They will be naked all the time. I'm the king of the world. He shouted excitedly, going down the road and throwing the leaflets onto the mailbox of the houses that were glowing red on a portable GPS-like device that Rias had given to him. He was going to have to work extra hard if he were to rank up inside a clubhouse of Kuo. For a mobster, you really didn't put up much of a fight, Naruto said to the dead, fat guy that he was holding by the neck and then letting go and allowing the corpse to fall down to the ground lifelessly. Though it never reached it, a millisecond before his body touched the ground, it disappeared in a white mist. The place, which was once a place filled with dancers, women, gangsters and music, was completely empty. All those who were previously having fun in the club were sent back home through illusion, and those that worked in there under the mobster, all received the same fate as him. This is bound to attract Michael's attention, Naruto said to himself, glancing around the area. Killing humans normally brought the attention of the supernatural world in general, heavens more so than others. But none of those people were killed, they were all erased. It was the common fate of those that lost their souls to the harvester. Getting their souls stolen by devils was one thing. Their names still existed on the Book of Life and could still be recovered and sent to wherever they belong in the afterlife, a privilege denied to all of his victims. Names don't magically disappear from the book. That was something only a selected few could do. Great Red, Ophis, Hades, Naruto and previously Albion along with the biblical god. Out of the four that remained with the ability, It was difficult to choose which was worse for heaven and the church. All of them represented very bad omens. Though while it seemed wicked and or cruel, it was actually more merciful than sending them to hell. I wonder who they will send here to investigate. Hopefully they send Griselda or maybe even Dulio. The guy sure knows his stuff. Naruto said to himself, and then gave a mirthful laugh. Dulio was one of the people he actually liked spending some time with, and Griselda was overall fun to mess with on his opinion. I could probably make some use of this place. It would be a waste for such a large area to be left for the government, he then thought, making a mental note to get the place into his name. I have spent enough time here, best I get going, he said, making way towards the door. I never thought of you as the type to go out of your way to destroy humans, Naruto, said a feminine voice in a monotone way as Naruto got out of the club. Ouroboros, Naruto groaned, closing the door of the club behind him and turning towards the source of the voice. Upon seeing her he scoffed. And I never thought of you as a lowly type, though I guess it is quite fitting. You are mocking me, she said, or asked her usual monotone voice. It was difficult to tell which. Did I stutter? Naruto asked, a large grin forming on his face. Those people were in the way of my ramen. You know the drill, it's hard to find decent cooks nowadays. Besides, it is not like they will be missed. I made sure to end them fast enough. Surprisingly, Ophis nodded. Good cooks were indeed hard to find. That was a struggle that she could relate to. What do you want, Ouroboros? I can hardly believe you came here just to see little old me, Naruto questioned, his eyes narrowing slightly at the humanoid dragon. I wouldn't have to come if you simply accepted my invitation and didn't tear apart all of those I sent to recruit you, she replied, meeting his golden eyes with her own dull gray ones. Humph, it was their fault. They didn't take no for an answer, so I devoured their souls. You know me, I thought you were sending them to me as snacks, Naruto shrugged, as if it were the simplest thing in the world. If you came here for that, then you are wasting your time, he said, turning away from her and leaving the place. I came here for a reason and you will listen to me, she said, appearing beside him and following him down the road. I require your assistance to remove Red from my home. He is loud. I cannot have peace with him in there. The way she spoke almost made Naruto feel bad for her, like a native that just had his lands confiscated from him by some company. I have no desire of joining this ragtag faction that you assembled for such a stupid reason. My answer still remains the same. Why? I don't understand. Why you satisfy yourself with so little? I know you've been waiting for this, for someone with whom you can truly fight against. Why let go the opportunity? That is true, but I have no interest in fighting him. Unlike you, he actually does something useful, like keeping things where they belong. If you have, Naruto replied, stopping and facing her once more, if that is all you have to say, then leave before my patience starts running out. You are as hard-headed as the day you appeared in the gap. You intrigue me, she stated, taking a step closer to him. Do I? Never thought of you as the type to feel anything, Naruto retorted, glancing to the side and spotting an ice cream store and making his way towards it, Ophis right behind him. Yes, you do. Your contract with Red ended hundreds of years ago, yet you still go on with it. Why? She asked. I would like a large vanilla cone and a chocolate one with extra sprinkles, Naruto said to the man in the store, placing a couple of bills in the counter, completely ignoring Ophis' words. You say something, Ophis? Naruto asked, turning towards her and leaning his back against the counter. Yes, a small twitch in her lips. Your contract with Red ended several centuries ago. Why do you still follow it? Naruto closed his eyes and thought. He had heard her the first time, but wanted to make her repeat herself, a small smile appearing on his face as he remembered the day that he made the contract. He was dying. His last clash with his best friend had sent him to the gap, and his body was quickly deteriorating when they appeared, drawn by his will to survive and his dreams. The infinite duo appeared before him. The red dragon ejected his soul from his body from his own flesh and Ophis' power, created a new one. Then they made a contract. Great Red's part was that he guarded the earth for 1,000 years, for he could not do to his duty in the gap. Ophis' part was far easier, as per se. The dragon at the time cared for nothing, not even the noise that the red one made, so her part was much more simple. Took him time to learn how to make them, especially more so given the time that he had arrived, but he had fulfilled the contract for both. Here are your ice creams, sir, enjoy, said the man, bringing Naruto out of his memories. Oh right, Naruto said, taking the two and handing the chocolate one to Ophis. Here, it is complicated, you wouldn't understand, emotions and things of the sort. Okay, she replied quickly, taking a lick of the ice cream. If it were about emotions, then she really wouldn't understand anyway. She is self-conscious about that fact. Sighing, Naruto glanced around and found a small wooden bench and then sat on it, patting the spot next to him for Ophis to do the same. If you are going to appear like a child, I'm going to treat you like one, he said with a smirk. On the street some people stared at the two, no doubt finding the pair to be quite exotic. It was uncommon for somebody of Naruto's stature and appearance to walk around the city. He practically stood out like a sour thumb, given his height, lack of shirt and overall Western appearance. Ophis wasn't that far behind in terms of appearance. While Naruto made most women and some men twist their necks, Ophis did the same for most men and a few women. Gothic Lolitas were hard to find. Ophis didn't respond verbally but obeyed, preferring to silently enjoy her ice cream. Out of respect of you, I will warn you now, those people of the Cow's Brigade will overthrow you, Naruto said, fixing his gaze onto the sky. She was one of the few people he actually respected as somewhat of an equal. Despite her inexperience with any type of relationship, she was still one of the two that had saved his life. Oh? She muttered, this time actually sounding like a question. The devils that you had sent to recruit me previously. When I devour someone's soul, I link myself with it, and can see what they have seen. I normally avoid doing so, but I had seen the past few months and years of them. They are going to overthrow you somehow. Due to how low they were in the chain of command, they couldn't provide me with much information about that. Naruto said, his tone a bit more serious. They cannot hurt me, Ophis replied, taking another lick of her ice cream. That is a bad way of thinking. Keep letting your guard down, and one day they will get through it. Naruto advised her. If that happens, you will help me, she replied, the corner of her tiny mouth twitching into a small, almost imperceptible smirk. You're right, remember to keep your dogs on a leash. If they start to bring problems to the world, I will not hesitate in annihilating them. Naruto said ominously, getting up from the bench and disappearing from the spot, Ophis vanishing not much after. Next day at Ichinoza's. Hey Gigi. Naruto greeted the old man, walking into the store. It was still around 10 in the morning and there weren't any customers yet. Naruto, my boy. What good timing. Could you do this old man a favor? Omer asked, putting on his apron. A favor? Sure, what can I do for you, Gigi? Naruto asked with a grin. Well, you see, Yui-chan here is feeling brave and wants to go out to buy some groceries, but Riho and I are kind of busy, so could you take her? The old man asked, gesturing to a short, young, black-haired girl around 16 or 17 with shades that was sitting in a small chair behind the counter. After being mentioned, said girl got up from her chair trembling slightly. Her legs and arms were thin and her skin very pale. She was facing the general direction that they were, but one could tell that she didn't know exactly where. Ah, hello Naruto-san, Ji-san and Ba-san told me about you. It is nice to finally meet you, she said softly, slowly waving in the direction that she last heard his voice. Naruto's eyes softened considerably upon seeing the frail girl, and a small smile appeared on his face. I hope good things. Naruto chuckled. It is nice to meet you as well. Omer took the girl's hand and slowly guided her from the counter to Naruto. You take good care of her, she's my only granddaughter. She already knows what we need. Yui nodded and stretched her right hand forward, and Naruto took it with his own right hand. Can I see your face, Naruto-san? She asked, fumbling a bit with her words. Sure. Naruto replied shortly, and she hesitatingly brought her hands to his waist. Eep. She squeaked, not expecting his body to be so sturdy and warm, but not removing her hands from him. Traveling upwards, she noticed a few things. He didn't like using shirt, he was much taller than herself, he was very well built, and lastly, his body was abnormally hot, as in fever-type hot. Passing by his chest and his Magatama necklace, she eventually made it to his face. He had to lean a bit forward for her to reach it better, but she managed nonetheless. A line? She mumbled to herself, caressing his cheek. 2-3 whiskers? She asked and then giggled to herself. It was a first. She didn't meet all that many people in her life, but she was sure that it wasn't something common. Ahem. Omer coughed into his hand. Still here. I'm old, not dead. Off you two go. He ushered the two away, Yui letting go of Naruto's face and once again taking his right hand into her own, her left hand going to the back of his elbow. One. Bye Ji-san. Yui said softly. CYA Gigi? Naruto waved him goodbye. Whack. Itai. Omer yelled, nursing his head. You old coot, couldn't you wait a little? You ruined their moment. Riho said, holding on to a wooden spoon. But look at them, they make quite the pair. She then said, pointing towards the two. I guess they do. He replied, doesn't mean you had to hit that hard. You deserved it. She retorted simply, going to the back of the kitchen. The two did indeed make quite the pair, even for the onlookers on the street. Naruto was practically her opposite. Their walk lasted for around an hour. The store was relatively close, but given her condition, their pace was very slow. On the way, Yui asked Naruto several questions, such as his surname, age, why he didn't like to use shirts, etc. The shopping list was small, only a handful of common things. Naruto suspected that it was only an excuse of the old man to get her for a walk. She did enjoy the sunlight. By the time they were done, Naruto noticed something. Her breath had sped up and her grip on his elbow had lessened. Her legs were also shaking a bit more, but she continued to walk. Her willpower was something truly admirable. Seeing her about to stumble, Naruto swooped her from her feet and picked her up bridal style, earning him a squeak from the frail girl, who was clearly not expecting something so sudden. Ah, Naruto-san, please put me down, I can go on my own, she said weakly, a small blush on her face, her own voice contradicting her words. Nope. Naruto answered simply. You can't, I can see that you are struggling. You trusted me to take you to the store, allow me to take you back home. This is embarrassing, she mumbled. It was indeed very much embarrassing. Everyone in the street was looking at them, some whispering things to each other, and she couldn't see anything. To her the feeling was like she had no ground and absolutely no control over where she was going. I know. Naruto replied cheekily, a grin on his face. He could hardly care what the watchers thought, to him they were ants. You're mean, she said, the blush on her cheeks increasing, even though she found the situation very strange and embarrassing. His body radiated a very pleasant and warm sensation. Holding his hands was one thing, being held by him and having her body pressed against his chest was way different. Arriving outside Ichino's once more, Naruto slowly placed Yui back onto the ground and helped her steady her feet. "Here we go, miss, safe and sound." "Wasn't so bad now, was it?" Naruto asked her with a grin. "It was okay," she mumbled, fumbling a bit with her shirt, Omer and Riho walking towards the two. "Here are the stuff, Gigi," Naruto said to the old man, handing him a bag with the groceries. "I gotta get going now." "Got some things to do, huh? Going already, Naruto? Don't you want to stay for some ramen?" Riho asked, taking Yui's hand. "Sorry, I really got to get going." "It was fun though, Yui-chan. We should probably go out again someday," Naruto said, turning around and waving them goodbye. "A date," Yui said to herself, her cheeks gaining some color. "Whack. Why weren't you more like him, you old coot? You never carried me around anywhere," Riho said, smacking Omer behind his head. "That's only because you were so he never mind," he corrected himself, not wanting to face the wooden spoon of doom once more. Then went back to the kitchen, grumbling something under his breath about young kids making him look bad. "So Yui, you got to tell me about how it was," Riho said to the girl, a mischievous glint in her elderly eyes. Later at night, streets of Ko. It was now night time and we find our hero, Naruto, sitting in the fountain where Issei had first died, gazing into the night sky. "Perhaps I am getting soft," he thought, remembering the events that had happened earlier in that day. It was unusual for him to care about a simple human life just for caring, but regardless of the race, he would always recognize hard workers. It was as clear as the day for him that she was in pain and that her body was weak, and she was trying her best to hide it from the two. Admirable. Such a trait was difficult to find. People who cared about others to the point of masking their suffering with a smile weren't easy to come by, and they were the people that he could relate to the best. Maybe for his past, or even their nobility, Naruto found himself actually getting attached to the family. "You two should come out now, stealth isn't your thing," Naruto said, pushing away his thoughts about the Ichino's family, and shifting his golden gaze towards the light post. For a few seconds nothing happened. It almost made him seem crazy, but true enough, after a few moments of waiting, a silhouette came out from behind it, followed by another one of the same height. "I thought I had smelled the devil," Naruto said as the two silhouettes showed themselves to be Rias and Akino. "You two must be either very brave or very naive to come to me after learning who I am. I am betting on the former." His ice-cold tone and stare sent shivers down both of their spine. Akino glanced at Rias uncertainly, and the redhead took a step forward. "What do you want, devils?" Naruto asked harshly, his eyes narrowing into a semi-glare, no killing intent being used, but even then it was enough to make their hearts skip a beat. There is something that I want to know," Rias said nervously. She had spent days thinking about a speech, and it just flew out of her mind. "Go on." "I want to know if you were the person of that night," Rias said firmly. 11 years ago, in the underworld. I was returning with Enku from the park and we were ambushed by the old Satan faction. Enku was overpowered and I was knocked out. The last thing I remembered was seeing golden hair, much like yours. When I awoke, I overheard a conversation between Enku and my brother of how they were found torn apart. Akino's eyes widened upon hearing it. The accident was a taboo and Rias had never told anybody about what happened. "And if it was?" Naruto asked, raising an eyebrow. "I just wanted to know. Ever since that day I started researching about you. The book said that you were a monster that killed everything in sight, but you spared my life twice. Why?" she asked, a bit of emotion coming out of her voice. "You came here to ask me why I had spared your lives?" he asked her with a bit of amusement. "I didn't kill you back then because I don't like killing children, and right now you are too small for me to even consider you my prey. Though if you wish to die that much, then I can fix that." Both Rias and Akino found themselves taking a step backwards once he got up from the fountain. "What is the other reason that you came here for?" Naruto asked, his tone once again serious. "I have a proposal for you," Rias stuttered, trying to regain her composure. "A proposal? And what would that be?" Naruto asked in curiosity. She had guts, so he could at least hear her out. "I want your help to stop an arranged marriage." "You got guts coming here to ask me that. How do you expect me to help you?" "Say if I were to accept it, what would you have to offer me?" Naruto then asked, his tone filled with amusement. "Join my peerage. My family owns a lot of lands and money. We have a lot of influence," she said, now with more confidence. Much to her and Akino's surprise, Naruto started to laugh, really hard, as if she had told him the funniest joke in history. "Join your peerage? Child, you don't have enough pieces to even dream of reincarnating me. I have enough power to burn this world down into ashes and enough wealth to rebuild it in a new glory. Your family wealth and influence are of no interest to me. I cannot help you. Even if I did get you out of it, that would mean that I am allying myself with the devil family. That fact alone would start a war. Yourselves pitches quite well though. You of the Gremory household have always been good at manipulation. Your Gremory ancestor was the very first devil to notice that by treating their slaves well, the chances of rebellion would lower for as long as the servants remained in the illusion," Naruto said, walking in their direction. Rias would clench her teeth in anger, but the fear in her heart stopped her from moving. "You are quite smart. The way you manipulated Issei was very impressive. You used his desires against him like a real devil. Lucifer would have been proud of you if I hadn't killed him the war along with the other Maos. Naruto said, a book appearing in his right hand. Stopping in front of her, he dropped the book on her feet, and it opened up to reveal itself blank. Train, practice, and write everything you learn in this book. Once the pages are black with ink, get white ink and start over. You have potential, don't become a failure like your brother. And with those words said, he vanished, both Rias and Akino falling to the ground right after, gasping for air. Later in the streets of Kuo, I sucked so much that I didn't even get a pact. All I ended up getting was a heated debate about Dragon Ball Z. What the hell was I thinking back there? Issei asked himself. He was now getting out of the house of his first contractor, but in the end he failed to make a pact with the man. Huh! He muttered as a dose of killing intent struck him, making him turn around and face the other side of the street, where a soft sound of footsteps started coming from. Someone's there, is it that guy? It feels familiar. He said out loud. What a surprise, you are not what I thought, but you are certainly the one I was sent to find. My name is Calawarner, and I have orders to destroy you. This is truly unusual, said the tall blue-haired woman, now identified as Calawarner. What's going on? Issei asked, letting go of his bike. Why are you still alive? The woman asked angrily, black wings sprouting from her back. A fallen angel? Issei thought, getting ready. She was supposed to have taken care of this already. Calawarner hissed, creating a spear of light and tossing it at Issei, who jumped out of the way right in time. Is that the Gremry family crest? Calawarner asked in surprise, seeing the symbol on Issei's hand when he ducked. Does this mean I am about to be killed again? Issei asked himself. So you are the one that Donasek was stuck for a strain. My, isn't that interesting? The fact that you are a part of the Gremry household makes it all the more important that you are destroyed. She yelled, flying into the air and creating another spear of light on her right hand, then launching herself towards Issei. This bitch is actually going to kill me. No! That power they said I have, I need to figure out how to use it. He thought, remembering Rias's words about concentrating on the part of his body that he felt is the strongest, and then remembering his time with his client, and how he felt his left arm to be powerful. 2. Focus! He screamed, raising his left hand and pointing it towards Calawarner, a bright light shining on his arm and a strong gust of wind being sent towards the fallen, shredding her clothes completely. 3. When the light died down, a red gauntlet with a green jewel in it, and 2 golden spikes on the side. Is that a sacred gear? I got better things to do, we'll let someone else deal with this crap. Calawarner said and then flew away. So what's the sacred gear? This? Issei asked himself, looking at the gauntlet at his hand. Occult Research Club. Yes. Congratulations, you found it. Now that it has been activated, all that you have to do is decide is when want to turn it on or off. Rias said to Issei, the gauntlet vanishing from his hand right after. Thank goodness, that would really slow me down in my alone time. Issei said with a smile, looking at his hand. I'm so proud of you, Issei. Akino said from beside him, bringing both of her hands to her chest. You are? Issei asked, rubbing that back of his head sheepishly. Thanks. That does however put in a bad position. Not only do the fallen angels know that you are still alive, they also know that you have been reborn as one of us. This is bound to make things more complicated. Yeah, I am so sorry. Issei apologized, lowering his head. I know that it was just an accident that you ran into her. But remember, don't get carried away now that you unlock the sacred gear and try to fight them alone. That is disrespectful for the rest of us. I understand, Issei sighed. I'm tired, I'm going home. Issei said, leaving the clubroom. Exaggeration much? He's still new, why did you have to scare him? Akino asked, looking at the door. Rias sighed. Perhaps she did exaggerate a little and putting off her earlier frustrations on Issei. But she still had a good reason. I'm not trying to scare him, I just don't want him to overestimate himself. Rias replied, biting down on her nail. Akino nodded silently, though she knew that it wasn't the only reason Rias was harsh with him. Naruto's words really struck a chord in the two. Somewhere else in Ko. My, finding a fallen angel now? What a surprise though, when was it that your kind took to walking around naked? Naruto asked Calawarner with a grin, who was on a crater in the ground, courtesy of Naruto. Those were the last things that she heard before the world went black. In a room, splash. Calawarner stirred in her bed, being awoken by the feeling of cold water being splashed on her face. Good morning. Naruto greeted the fallen cheerfully, taking a few steps back. What the fuck, she grunted, opening her eyes to see that she was naked and the person that had attacked her in the previous night was just a few feet away from her. You! She growled, creating a light spear and jumping towards him, only for her vision to blur and her spear to fade away. Ploft. She fell on the ground face first, her body feeling weak and numb. Attacking me isn't going to benefit you, my dear fallen, Naruto said, crouching down in front of her, a towel in his hands. When he had summoned it or picked it up, she would never know. And you were already naked when you flew above me. Quite the sight, really. Is that a new thing of your people? Go nude or go nothing? Seems like something Azazel would approve. Wonder how he got Shemhazai to agree, he then said to himself as an afterthought, using the towel to wipe the cold water from her face. Had she enough strength, she would have tried to bite off his finger or his arm, but her body felt so weak that even the slightest of movements seemed improbable. "What do you want with me, you creep?" she hissed, trying to muster strength to get up. "Well," Naruto scratched the back of his head sheepishly, "old habits die hard. I was going to need you for something, but after seeing through your most recent memories, I came to the conclusion that neither you or your fellow fallen qualify for that, so I don't know what to do with you yet. I could take the remains of your soul, but you are too weak to even make a difference. I could enslave you and make you a mindless puppet. But I don't like puppets, and I am not in the mood for killing so frankly. I don't know what to do with you. You could release me?" she asked, her pride shattered at the fact that she wasn't even worth killing. "Why do you want me to release you? Your days are counted anyway," Naruto said, sitting cross-legged in front of her. "Counted? What do you mean? What did you do?" she asked, trying to get up, but only managing to bring herself to a slightly upright laying position, unintentionally showing Naruto her private parts, but he didn't seem to care. "Me? I did nothing about that. It is your fault," Naruto replied, leaning backwards. "What are you talking about?" she asked, very confused. "Azazel gave orders to your friend Rainier to watch the boy Issei, right?" he asked, and she nodded. "Then he really did mean for you to only watch him. Azazel is a pacifist, the least troublesome of all the other faction leaders. Given that your friend killed the boy in devil territory, which brought him to be revived as a devil by said territory owner, and that you then attacked him after his reincarnation, which can be taken as a direct action of war, how do you think Azazel would react? For you to almost start the one thing he has been avoiding, in his name, so are you sure you want to go back?" Now that she thought about it, his words made sense. Azazel was famous in the world for avoiding trouble. He was the first to drop out of the war because he valued his people too much to lose them in it. Most certainly she would be exiled or killed as an offering of peace for what she had done. 1. She opened her mouth but said nothing. There was nothing for her to say. He was right, and now she regretted it for not thinking about it earlier. "You see my problem? I can kill you now, or I can release you so that you live for a few more days, maybe extend that for a few weeks if you run, but you get hunted down and killed either way," he said, closing his eyes. "Kill me then, what is it for you anyway? Either way I am dying," she said, though her words contradicted what she was feeling. Naruto sighed. "Nothing really, you have nothing to offer to me. You are just a child, either you nor your partners know what you are into. Contrary to what many believe, I don't enjoy killing. The true nature of creatures come out when their lives are at stake, and I am fed up with bullshit. Your death would bring nothing to the world or myself. The Gremry girl isn't that bad. If you go talk with her and ask for forgiveness, then she won't ask for your head. If she doesn't and the issue is solved, then Azazel may end up sparing you. The boy is still alive anyway." "Oh," she muttered. All that she had to do was something as simple as apologize. "You can go now, there is no more reason for you to stay here," Naruto said, getting up from his spot and turning around. A faint white glow appearing around Calawarner, returning her strength. "What about the others?" she asked, getting up and releasing her wings. "I don't know, it is not my problem. Try and convince them if you like. I doubt that it will work. People only truly pay attention when their lives are at stake. You wouldn't have listened to me if I hadn't forced you to, so they probably won't listen to you unless you can force them to sit down and pay attention," Naruto replied with a sigh. "They will listen to me." "I'm Sue." "They won't," Naruto interrupted. "They are blind, they will ignore it and attack you. They are just like you, only realize how deep they are when it is too late. You aren't strong enough to fight them and convince them." Convincing people with his fist had been something that he knew a lot of. Nothing better than a good spanking to smack some sense into some people's head. It was how he did it all his life. Niji, Gaara, Nagato, Obito, all of them required a good ass kicking before he talked sense into them. "They will, and if it comes down to a fight, then you can come along with me," she replied, taking a step towards him, her rather plump jiggling slightly. "You are asking a lot of me. I'm not a problem fixer. They got themselves into it, they get themselves out. Don't think much of me helping you. Along with your memories, I saw your loyalty to Azazel. You see him as a father. It would be a shame if it all went away just because of a wrong decision, and because you were already here and you don't have any use for me anyway," he replied simply. "Fine, if you won't. Then I have to do something. I can't let them continue with this," she said with a frown, turning around and flying through the balcony. Once she was outside, she glanced back at the hotel and bit her bottom lip before continuing. Deep down she just couldn't blame him for saying no. He could have done whatever he wished with her, yet he chose not to. "You are getting soft," my master spoke, a voice, the temperature in the room dropping severely as a cloaked figure came out of one of the corners in the room. "Not an OC and not of the Naruto universe." "Perhaps I am," Naruto said, turning towards the cloaked figure, "or perhaps I have always been like this. You arrived just in time, really couldn't have picked a better time. The boy awoke his sacred gear yesterday. I trust everything went well?" "Yes," the figure bowed, pulling out a red gauntlet from its robe. "It is as you required. The modifications on the twice critical was a success." "What name do you wish to call it?" "There is no need to name it. It will be a name only us two know anyway," Naruto replied, taking the gauntlet and equipping it to his left hand. The gauntlet glowed for a few seconds, morphed into a larger, full-armed dragonic gauntlet. "Perfect, it will serve more than well. Have you had any luck with finding the Holy Grail?" Naruto said, reverting it to its normal state and sending it to another dimension. Yes, my master, the user has been located. It is in a damper of the Teeps faction. The user's half-brother is conducting experiments on her as we speak. He is dangerously close to finding the secrets of the grail. What must I do, master? Do you wish of me to recover it? The cloaked figure asked. No. Naruto said firmly. I will retrieve it myself. The grail is too important to give any chances. I cannot allow it to escape again. Yes, master, is there anything else that you require me to do? The cloaked figure asked, bowing down once more. No, you can go now. Naruto dismissed and the person nodded, a blue magic circle appearing beneath and enveloping it. Occult Research Club. Good morning, Issei-kun. Akino greeted her Kohai as he walked into the club. Good morning, Akino-senpai. Is Bucho here? He asked, the word Bucho seeming a bit foreign for him. He wanted to call her Wanisama, but since she had already said no and he didn't want to find out if she was still disappointed/mad at him, he opted to not push his luck. Not really, she wanted to be alone and left last night to do some soul search. Don't be sad, it has nothing to do with your incident last night, she is just having a tough time. Akino said, trying to cheer the boy up. Bucho is having a hard time? Issei repeated. Yofufu, yes, but don't worry about it. She will be fine. Akino reassured him. Your flyers are in her desk, be sure to give them out quickly. I have a feeling that tonight you may get another chance at a contract. You need to keep going if you want that harem, right? Yofufu, she giggled. However, in truth, she really didn't know if Rias would be fine anytime soon. Naruto's words were harsh and affected both greatly. But she couldn't allow Issei to know that yet. The boy was still new and like them previously, completely ignorant to Naruto's powers. If he went and did something reckless, like how the two had done earlier, then it could mean the end of the line for them. The distraction worked like a charm on the boy, and in the blink of an eye he was back to fantasizing about his future harem. Yash, you're right, Akino-senpai. I must keep going, he said excitedly, going over Rias's desk and stuffing the pile of flyers onto his backpack and then running out of the club, though not before waving goodbye to Akino and Kaneko. Right after he left, the magical circle in the living room started to shine a brig HT crimson color. Rias! Akino gasped upon seeing her current state, rushing towards her along with Kaneko. Her appearance though seemed like she had been through a war. Her clothes were all but destroyed, her hands were burned and her body was drenched in a mixture of sweat, dust, and blood. What happened to you? Were you attacked? Akino asked, checking her for any dangerous wounds. No, Akino, nothing attacked me. It's a long story and I just want a shower, she said, waving Akino off and turning towards the shower. No, Akino said firmly, blocking her way. You will tell us what happened. We were dead worried about you. Rias sighed and glanced between Akino and Kaneko, who seemed to agree with her. It was a spell gone wrong. A couple of times I tried to do like my brother and compress my power of destruction into a ball, but it just kept on blowing up on my face. Happy? With those words said, she tossed the book that Naruto gave her into her desk and went inside the shower, Akino and Kaneko in too much disbelief to stop her. Inside the shower, Rias turned on the hot water and closed her eyes, too tired to even care about the fact that she still had some clothes on. Her mind dozing off into what had happened earlier. That damn blonde, Rias growled, taking a seat on top of a rock. She was currently in a forest in the underworld territory. She had teleported there right after Issei had left. It was her special place, the place where she liked to go when things were troubling her. The things that the blonde had said had affected her more than she had thought. She tried to convince herself that they were lies. But why would he lie about that? And the more she thought about it, the more it made sense, for as much as she hated it. The history books about him were all doubtful, and because of his rampage on the war, all sides were forced to retreat, and nobody actually knew what happened between the fight of God and the Maos because nobody stayed back besides the Mao, who died in the battle. Come to think of it, if he fought against the Mao, who are fighting against God, and he is alive, then what are the chances that God is alive as well? She thought, looking at the book that she had previously tried to destroy, but failed. It can't be true. The angel said no word about God being wounded. They have been completely silent about the war, too silent. The world is going normally. It can't be possible that something happened to God. She then thought, his strength was a mystery. At first she thought that he was perhaps below Heavenly Dragon, and that he could be reincarnated with the combined use of her last bishop, knight and rook. But now it seemed unlikely. Do what you can't do until you can do them, and one day you may end up running out of things you can't do. She read out loud, the first page of the book, the only one to have anything written. What does he care? I'm not slacking, there are a ton of things that I can do, she said to herself, throwing the book to the ground and getting up from the rock. This is what Oni-sama does, she said to herself, extending her right hand and trying to focus and compress her power into a small ball, only for her to lose her focus and be blasted back a few feet and landing on her butt. Ugh, damn it, one more try, she said to herself, getting up. She was so hellbent on trying that one spell that she had completely lost track of time. When she came to notice, it was already the morning of the next day. Yet even after all that trying, she had done little to no progress with the spell. She had just found out that compressing the power of destruction was a difficult process. Using it in waves like how she would normally did was easy, charge up and scatter in the opponent. Compressing required concentration, focus, and a lot of control. She knew that it wasn't the way her brother did. Yes, he did compress it, but his was just many times more denser than her own, so he required a less amount to compress. What have I been doing, she said to herself, closing her eyes. Streets of Ko. Ugh. This sucks. I've been giving out flyers for an hour and I'm not even halfway there. Issei groaned, taking a seat on a bench. Suddenly hearing some footsteps beside him, he quickly turned around to see who or what it was. Hello Issei, we finally meet, said Naruto to the boy, but Issei didn't respond. He couldn't. His once shiny brown eyes had turned dull and soulless. Unfortunately though, your mind is somewhere far away. Naruto chuckled, crouching down so that he was at eye level. It's been a long time, Naruto said, the crimson gauntlet of before appearing on top of his palm, a crimson gauntlet appearing on Issei's own left hand. So my time is up, you finally came for the remains of my soul, evil dragon god. Spoke a voice through Issei's hand, more precisely, the green jewel on it. It was common for the factions of the world, including dragons, to associate him with evil due to his brutal and merciless fighting style, and while he could technically be called by the same titles of Great Red and Ophis, the Dragon Kings decided for the sake of convenience, they labeled him as such, not one of his favorite epithets mind you, but it could be worse. Yup, a lot of time has passed since the Great War and I gave you plenty of time to enjoy yourself against Albion's host. I was going to give you some more time, but now that the Holy Grail has been found, I may need to speed up my work with it. I will finally be capable of localizing it, and I will need all the power at my disposal to finish the job and eliminate it. Naruto said, placing his right hand on Issei's chest. So you really plan on taking it out for good? Could I know the name of my current host? He will die before learning the secrets of my powers or even my name, Drake said, and Naruto imagined him sighing. Hearing the dragon, Naruto took his hand off Issei's chest and then took a step backwards. His name is Issei Hayato, a human reincarnated as a devil. He won't die yet. This is a special twice critical that was modified for him, will keep him alive and will help him somewhat. Your full power would be a waste on him now. 0 times 2 is still a 0 after all. How many times he multiplies wouldn't matter. You sparing a life? How long have I been asleep? What's next? Ophis transformed into a little girl. Drake laughed, but stopped when he saw Naruto's deadpan look. You're fucking with me, right? Naruto nodded. Yup, and not just any child, a gothic Lolita. It is now the world's most powerful loli. Wahahaha, you mean it is now a loli? What has become of the world? Drake laughed, and then hummed, still what made you go through the trouble of finding and modifying the device for the boy? Didn't think of you for being one to care, or give others opportunities to speak. You took my soul without any warning, was finally going to get rid of Albion when you and those pesky devils and angels interrupted us. I warned you too many times. Your battles were damaging the planet, something I cannot allow. Why is it such a surprise for me to spare somebody? Who do you think I am, Grendel? For fuck's sake, now I understand why Hades is so bitter about people labeling him as a dark god or evil god. You could say that he reminds me of somebody I once knew, so I am giving him the benefit of doubt, despite him being such a disappointment. Disappointment? Never mind, I don't want to know, I don't care. Just get this over with. Placing his hand once more on Issei's chest, a tremendous amount of crimson energy then started to flow from Issei to Naruto, while red energy flowed from Naruto's gauntlet to Issei. The red tattoos on the left side of Naruto's body stretching themselves to the side of his chest, neck and the corner of his face, a single slash below each whisker, and a small flame above his eyebrows. 3. The replacement will be capable of aiding you, isn't as powerful as the original boosted gear, but it can give out some boosts, as long as you train. That is until we meet again, this time under better circumstances. Naruto said, his body vanishing in the air like a mirage. So many flyers to give out, but I must not slack. My harem awaits! Issei shouted, filled with energy. Completely unaware of what had just happened, abandoned church. At the entrance of the abandoned church, a certain blue-haired fallen descended, now with clothing. Not a minute after she arrived, Rainier, Donasek and Miltet went to meet her. What took you so long? Miltet shouted angrily. We thought you had been captured by the devils or killed. Not a devil, come to think about it. I should have asked his name, Calawarner thought, remembering that neither of them had actually introduced themselves. How was the mission? Rainier asked, stopping in front of Calawarner along with her companions. I failed. The boy was the same that Donasek met. He was reincarnated as a devil and unlocked his sacred gear. Calawarner said, meeting Rainier's stare. Damn it! Rainier hissed, not only did he survive, but he is also with the devils now. Then must hurry up and kill him at once along with the devils. We cannot allow them to live. But how do you plan to kill them? The Gremry devils are powerful. Donasek asked Rainier, a bit skeptic about how she planned on taking on the devil peerage. The nun, we will extract her sacred gear and use it to defeat them. We use light, it is our advantage. With the power of her sacred gear, we won't lose. Rainier answered with determination. No. Calawarner said, surprising the three. What did you just say? Rainier asked with a glare, her tone raising a tad bit. I said no. We can't go on with this, we need to go back. Calawarner answered, meeting Rainier's glare with one of equal intensity. What do you mean with we need to go back? We need to finish what we started. Our leaders will be pleased with our efforts here. We might even get a promotion for going the extra mile. We can't go back now. Rainier snarled, taking a step closer to Calawarner. Yes, we can. This isn't what Azazel-sama would want of us. We have to go back and report to him. Calawarner retorted, not backing down. Maybe it is best we do go back, Rainier. Even if just to get some reinforcements. Donasek advised, seeing the strategic value of it. We don't need to get reinforcements. We can take them on our own. I say we stay and kill those devils. Miltilt argued, breaking her very impressive silent streak. You know what, Calawarner, I'm starting to think you switched sides. What's the matter? You with the devils now? Is that why you took so long? I don't have to tell you happens to traitors, right? Rainier asked, the tension in the room rising. No. I didn't switch sides, I am still as loyal as ever. I would rather die than betray Azazel-sama. Calawarner replied fiercely. I don't think so. You don't seem very loyal now. If you're really one of us, then you have to prove it. If you are really loyal, then go back and finish the job with Donasek. Assassinate the boy. Rainier said with a smirk, crossing her arms under her bust. The Gremries are now in alert. We can't go just the TW. No. Calawarner interrupted Donasek. What do you mean no? You don't have a say in this. Rainier stated, her eyes narrowing, not even attempting to hide her anger towards Calawarner. I mean no, simple as that. I won't go on with this plan. It isn't what Azazel-sama would want of us. Calawarner tried to reason, but Rainier had enough. I am tired of your insubordination, Rainier growled, clenching her fists. Her right hand started to glow with a bright purple light, making Calawarner immediately jump back, her wings sprouting from her back. The light stabilized into a spear, just like with Issei. I am tired of your nonsense, traitor. Die. Rainier threw the light spear towards Calawarner, who was prepared and managed to duck to the side. She really wants to kill me, Calawarner thought, creating a spear of her own and using it to deflect another one of Rainier's spears. Now Calawarner was no Kokabeel in terms of strength and power. She still was no slouch either, and had a decent amount of training, for fallen of her rank that is. Not wanting to give Rainier time, Calawarner rushed towards her, rushing towards Rainier before she had time, but midway, she saw something glow pink from the corner of her eyes. It was Miltilt throwing her pink spear towards Calawarner. She had noticed it too late. She had made the terrible mistake of taking her eyes off the other two, and now she was about to pay the price. Giving her momentum, it was impossible for her to dodge it, and she knew it, but in an act of reflex, or luck, her wings fluttered slightly and shifted her position just a slight bit to the left, making the spear pierce her right shoulder instead of her heart. Ploft. Calawarner fell to the ground, clutching the wound on her shoulder. While she was no devil or demon, getting pierced by a light spear was still fatal regardless. Good job, Miltilt. I was expecting Donasek to be the one, but you served good. Rainier praised the short girl, walking towards Calawarner. Donasek remained silent. He didn't want to take any part in it. Killing a devil or a stray was one thing, killing one of their own was another way different. Not so high and mighty now, are you, traitor? Rainier hissed, pinning Calawarner's right wing with her left foot and kicking her with her right one. Once she was completely on the ground, Rainier placed her foot on top of the wound and started to sink the tip of her heel in it, her face showing how much she was enjoying the action of bringing pain onto her former ally. Calawarner just grunted in pain, trying and failing to create a spear in her hand, the pain preventing her from concentrating enough. How cute that you still have some fighting spirit, Rainier chuckled darkly. I like that, but people like you and those devils are a stone in my shoe, and that is why you have to die. She yelled, lifting her arm upwards, a spear of light appearing on her hand. Era, spoke a voice from behind Rainier, freezing her body entirely and sending a cold, sinister shiver down her spine. Excuse me, young fallen, could you please step aside? I happen to know that person you are above of, said the voice, now revealing itself to be Naruto. In the sidelines, both Donasek and Miltilt unintentionally took a step backwards in fear. Hearing the man speak, Rainier's heart started to race. Her first instinct was to run and hide, but her body wouldn't obey. She couldn't move, even breathing was becoming difficult. She felt small. I will not ask again. There is something I must do tonight, and you are wasting my time. Step aside now, Naruto ordered more forcefully, his golden eyes shining brightly. Rainier couldn't help but do anything other than obey, her body acting on its own will and getting off of Calawarner, allowing the blue-haired fallen to recover her breath. You are becoming a handful. I am already starting to regret letting you go, Naruto told Calawarner, his eyes adopting a bored look. Yet you came, she chuckled and then coughed a blob of blood. Yet I came, he repeated. Consider yourself with luck, though my arrival begins your debt. The first tip is always free, the second however you will find out, he said to her, and then turned his gaze towards Rainier, who had joined the other two. Disobedient children are such a drag. You should stop now before it is late, said a voice, the sound echoing through the front of the church and coming from all sides. In the center of it was Rainier. What remained of her clothes were now gone. Several pierced wounds spread across her torso. Fuck you, she snarled, looking around and trying to find him, a spear of light forming on her right hand. You're wasting your efforts, and my time. Go home, little crow, the voice continued, and Rainier created a spear of light on her right hand. Show yourself, you coward! You scared? She taunted, scanning the area for the source. Me scared? He asked, his voice coming out much clearer. Reiner was quick to pinpoint 0A's source and quickly turned around to see Naruto sitting on top of a rock with a bored expression. Thinking quickly, she quickly threw the spear towards him, only for the blonde to dissipate in black smoke as soon as it came in contact with him. Damn it! She cursed under her breath. Every time she thought that she had him, the blonde would pull something on her of the sort. You need to try better than that, Naruto said from beside her, and she immediately flipped towards him, another spear forming in her hands. You already know that wa. She threw the spear at him, interrupting him mid-speech, only for him to turn into black smoke once again. You seriously need to get those anger issues checked, sweetheart, he said once more, appearing a few meters away from her. Quickly turning towards him, a spear of light in each hand, she tossed them both at him. Though instead of dispersing into smoke, the spears simply passed through him as if he were a mirage or a hologram, and only a few moments later Middle passed through him from behind and threw a spear towards Reiner. Reacting fast, Reiner quickly jumped out of the path and avoided the spear. It wasn't the first time that it had happened, not much after it was Donasek and Calawarner. By the time she had gotten up, there was no sign of either of the blondes. It hurts to be attacked by your own, huh? His voice rang through her mind. You know nothing, bastard. I'm going to fucking kill you, you prick. Reiner snarled, somewhat regaining her footing and creating two spears. You're a very stubborn child, I give you that. But illusions and dreams are my two of the things that I specialize in. You are still very far from killing me, he continued, chuckling a bit to himself. Illusions and dreams, huh? I get it, this is all illusion. Then she grew a large grin. None of this is real. I get it. If this is a dream, then I can simply do this. She brought her right arm up and prepared to impale herself with her own spear. Bottom. She couldn't do it. Her arm stopped midway with the spear only inches of her chest, every instinct of hers screaming at her to stop. Can't do it? Said a different voice from beside her. I gave you one simple task, watch the boy, and you failed at that. Azazel-sama, Reiner gasped, the spear dispersing in her hand, Azazel fading away in black smoke moments later. You failed our organization. Your mistake could bring a war. Shemhazai-sama, Barakil-sama, just kill me already, you bastard. Finish me. She snarled, a few tears falling down her face. Killing you is something I have no intention of doing, little fallen. I don't enjoy killing children, and I don't go out of my way to kill them either. Naruto said, appearing a few meters in front of her. When I hunt, I take down the entire pack, not just a handful of youngsters like you and your group. I also have a certain tolerance for you fallen. Azazel is a good leader, one of the few that know the true meaning of the word. What do you want then? Reiner asked after contemplating his words. Nothing. Naruto answered simply, shrugging his shoulders. Actually, by nothing, I want something. I want you and your group to go back to Azazel, tell him what you have done, and what happened in this city. Your friend already paid the price. He said the last part to himself, the sound of it not reaching Reiner's ears. You will just let me go. What's in it for you? I'm not doing you any favors or anything of the sorts, she said, but Naruto only chuckled in response. Don't flatter yourself, child. You don't have anything of my interest. Were you Kokobile, then maybe I could find some use of your wings, perhaps make them into some pillows. Never mind that. Opportunities will come. I am sure of it. You can go now. After he finished talking, cracks started to appear in the air around Reiner, and the world shattered into pieces, a bright light flashing from the sky above and blinding her eyes. The first thing she came to notice was that she was now on the ground with her back on the grass. Her clothes were back on and the pain of the previous stabs were all gone. Besides her, also on the grass were Donasek, Middlet and Calawarner, the latter without any type of damage on her body, all of them with their wings out. What the when did you cast the illusion? Calawarner asked, checking herself for her bass burns. Naruto shrugged. You three send Azazel my regards. Would crash into the Grigori myself, but I have a more important appointment now. 3? Donasek asked, getting up and looking at his fellow fallen. Correct. Naruto pointed at Calawarner. You will stay in the hotel. The first tip was free, but because I had to come here to solve your issue, then you used up your second favor, and the only payment that I accept or that interests me are souls. I will decide on what I do with you later. I now have your soul marked, so don't even think about running. You won't go very far. And with those words said, he vanished. In a garden somewhere else. You guys don't need to stay. It is not like I'm going anywhere, or have anywhere to go, said a young blonde girl in her early 20s. It was now around 7 in the evening and the perfect time for Valerie to go to the castle's garden. The sun was just setting in the horizon and all the vampires of the Teeps factions were waking up. Orders are orders. You have 20 minutes. Replied a young blonde man with a doll-like face. Yeah, I know, she sighed, going to the center of the garden. If you know, then you show. What is that? Another blonde man said, pointing upwards, making everyone there present turn their attention towards the sky above. The clouds were parting quickly as if something was soaring through them. It is just a passing jet, nothing to worry about, one of the men there present said offhandedly, trying to identify what it was, though failing due to how high it was. Jets don't fly like that, another one said as the thing started to circle around the city, gaining more and more speed after each passing second until it suddenly made a full 90 degrees arc downwards, straight towards them. Shit, everybody NC dash. Boom! The thing impacted against the garden, lifting up dirt and sending a huge shockwave through the entire castle, blasting away everyone that was nearby. Valerie took the worst of it. Being just 2 meters away, the wave sent her crashing through the fountain towards one of the pillar. Her vision became blurry and a ringing sound echoed through her ears. But slowly the feeling faded away as she regained her senses. The first thing that came into her view was a tall, blonde, humanoid creature with a pair of very large dragonic black wings staring down at her with sharp grin, making him seem even more menacing for the poor Damfer. Sephiroth Graal, I have found you at last, the man said, leaning forward, but stopping midway when the piles of rubble on either side of the room started to shake and her 4 guard crawled out, each with a bloodthirsty snarl. Taking a step backwards, his wings retracted into his body. Valerie noting that his wings also had the same colored pattern as the rest of his body. Naruto then opened his right hand, a blue orb appearing on his hand and expanding over himself and Valerie. It is so good to finally meet you, wielder of the Sephiroth Graal. I have been searching for you for a long time and I traveled a lot to come here. While he talked, the 4 pounced on the dome, only to be sent flying back towards the walls. You have been looking for me? What do you want with me? She asked, trying and failing to get up. For a very long time, the previous possessor of Sephiroth Graal have evaded me. I admit that I have never taken any of them seriously, and may have allowed some to flee, but I cannot allow myself room for mistakes anymore. Naruto replied while more and more vampires joined outside of the barrier. What are you going to do to me? What do you need the Graal for? What am I going to do with you? He repeated. You see, there is a certain creature that I must destroy and I need the Graal and its ability to connect with the principle of life to localize it. You can localize the beast or I can remove the Graal from your body and do it myself. You have some time to think. Your friends aren't getting inside my barrier, and you're not going anywhere. Now Valerie was no fool, nor rookie when it came to the Graal. She had yet to get in contact with the principle of life. But thanks to her brother and his experiments, she knew how it worked somewhat, and that it was very dangerous to do. She also knew of the consequences of having one's sacred gear ripped out from their body, so either alternative seemed pretty bad to her. 1. I don't know how to get in contact with the principle. What is this creature that you are searching for? You found me now. Finding it shouldn't be difficult, she said, and much to her surprise, Naruto chuckled. Finding you wasn't that hard, and you don't compare to the creature that I seek, if it can even be called a creature. Unfortunately, due to circumstances, it is impossible even for me to find it. He shrugged. Valerie stared back at him in silence. The vampires outside the dome didn't seem to show any signs of hearing them and instead continued to launch their attacks onto it. Interesting, Naruto said to himself, his eyes glowing a bright golden color briefly. What is your Gasper Vladi's sister? He stated, and she widened her eyes. You know my brother? She asked, surprised, trying to straighten herself, but not finding the strength in her body to do so. I don't know him personally. Naruto shook his head. I know his master. Your brother serves the heir to the House of Gremory. Resident devils of the city I was recently in, in Japan. She repeated. Is he okay? The Gremory brat. Naruto scratched his chin. She is alright for a devil, could use a few kicks in the right direction and is completely ignorant about her own family history. But otherwise she is alright. Alright for a devil, she repeated, and Naruto shrugged. She's young, ignorant about the world, still has a lot to learn. Hopefully she won't become a disappointment like her brother. I think we have chatted enough, time to sleep, he said, and her body went numb and slack. Glancing around, he looked at all the vampires that had accumulated around the barrier, carefully analyzing it for a possible weakness. Returning his attention to Valerie once more, he knelt in front of her and placed his hand on top of her chest. Here you are, he grinned, though it was short-lived, and he quickly started to blink owlishly. 1, 2, 3? He said to himself in contemplation, moving his arm around her chest for a few moments, then pulling out a golden cup from her body. Not 1, not 2, but 3 holy graals? Talk about luck, he said to himself, looking at the golden cup in his hand and sending it to another dimension and making himself upright. I suppose I can do you this one favor. Narrowing his eyes, he glanced once more at the vampires and released the barrier. The vampires all hesitated and glanced between themselves until one of them took a step forward and tossed a dagger at Naruto's back. Without even glancing at their direction, Naruto caught the blade right before it reached his back and tossed it at another vampire on the other side, who was getting ready to jump towards him, the dagger going straight through his heart. The adrenaline rush and the smell of blood was the incentive that all the others seemed to be waiting for, and not a second later one of them lunged towards Naruto with a rapier in hand, full intent on stabbing the cross-eyed blonde through the heart. But instead Naruto sidestepped and grabbed his sword hand, then guided the rapier through his chest and pushed him towards another vampire, making the blade pierce him as well. 2 more vampires lunged at Naruto, from either of his side, this time with nothing but their fangs. However, like the previous, their attempt was also unsuccessful, and the 2 ended up crashing against each other thanks for Naruto leaping a few feet upwards. Unlike his jump, his landing was nothing as graceful, for he landed with each of his foot on top of either of their heads, which got crushed and shattered along with the ground underneath them. From behind him, another vampire with a long and thick chain rope seemed to want to test his luck and threw the chain towards Naruto, wrapping it around his left arm. Glancing towards the vampire trying to pull him, Naruto grabbed the chain and pulled on it, sending the vampire holding on to the other end straight into the cold hard wall of the castle. Then he started to roll it around his hand loosely like a rope. Flank him! Take him down! One vampire commanded, but the others around didn't seem as certain as himself. What are you all waiting now? He charged and several other young vampires followed, the older and more sane among them choosing to stay behind and observe. Casually sidestepping the first, Naruto struck him on the back of the head with the coiled chain, spun around and struck another's face with the chain, then he released it, and threw it towards another, the tip glowing red for the fraction of a second and piercing right through his heart, and killing him, then yanking it, and sending the tip through another one coming from behind. Enough! Shouted a blonde vampire with authority, Naruto instantly recognizing the person to be Lord Teeps. What is the meaning of TU? What are you doing here? Naruto didn't answer, there was no need, silence said everything that needed to be spoken, nothing. I see Lord Teeps frowned, to think that the harvester would come for us, but for some reason, I'm not surprised. Truly, his appearance really didn't surprise the vampire lord. He was aware of how his own faction acted, he had tried to put in some sense into them, but it was all for no use. It was only common sense that he would appear sooner or later. Ayo, you really do exist. Is there nothing you would like to say? My father used to tell me stories about you, how you would one day come knocking at our door. I wish we could sit down and discuss this, but I fear it is too late for that. Lord Vladi then said, more and more vampires appearing, until the entire area was crawling with them. Naruto recognized some of the newly arrived as ultimate class vampires, centuries old. For a moment, he wondered how many grunts he would have to put down to attract their attention. So that is how things are? Don't like to talk with your prey. Well, let's find out if you are just as strong as the legends say. 2. In Naruto's hotel room an hour and a half had passed since Calawarner had went to confront her former partners and her newest boss came to separate them. She had just arrived in the balcony of Naruto's hotel room after a long stroll around the city to think about her cut situation, which she still didn't quite understand. Was she a slave, a servant, a concubine, or all three? She considered running away for her liberty, but she refrained from doing so for various reasons. For one, she wasn't sure how far she would get before he tracked her down. Another was that she was now a completely rogue, she had absolutely nowhere to go. Stepping inside the room, she looked around and sighed, great, he isn't here, at least that means I'm not late. Her moment of happiness was cut short by a cold, morbid feeling, making her quickly turn around and see a cloaked figure with a blank ceramic mask. You must be my master's newest servant, the masked person said in a shrill, distorted voice. Calawarner blinked owlishly. You mean Naruto? I guess I am, and who are you? I am a servant, his commander. It is best that you don't know my identity until you become strong enough to keep it, the masked person replied. While Calawarner wasn't the smartest fallen angel around, she knew an insult when she heard one. So you're a servant like me? Don't fool yourself, I am a servant, but not like you. I'm incapable of seeing what he saw in you, it said, a bit of anger in its strange, distorted voice. But he does, and I don't understand why. He used illusions on you and your former partners? It asked, and Calawarner nodded. Master only uses them when he cares. If he didn't, he would have allowed you to lose an arm, or a leg. Oh, Calawarner muttered, you said that you're a commander, so he has more servants? Master is a god, it is only natural for him to have some followers. Although Master prefers to walk alone. He has preferred it like that for the last millennia, which brings one of the reasons for me coming here. Reason for coming? Calawarner repeated, and the cloaked figure nodded. Yes, I came here to explain some things to you before Master arrives. There is no need to bother him with something so trivial. He should get here any moment. So sit, it ordered, pointing towards a couch. Great, because I don't understand anything that is going on. Calawarner replied, sitting on couch. That is understandable, given who you are, it said, and Calawarner twitched. You trying to start something, pal? Just tell me what is going on. Who and what is Naruto, and what does he want of me? You will not address him by his name. As of now you are a slave, probably for your own well-being. Don't forget your place. As for what Master is, he is the world guardian. That is all you need to know about him. As for what he wants with you, I don't know. I don't see anything special in you. Calawarner twitched again, but chose to ignore the not-so-subtle remarks about herself in favor to the more important things. World Guardian? Never heard of that title. I'm not surprised, few have heard it. The title is self-explaining. Most, however, know him as the Harvester. But isn't he supposed to be a fairy tale? Calawarner asked in disbelief. My peace is directly proportional to the amount people think I don't exist. Makes things easier, said Naruto from the balcony, Calawarner going stiff at the sound of his voice. You came, that is good. Not like I had much choice, Calawarner thought, her eyes narrowing slightly. Well, you can still go back to the Grigori if that is what you wish, Naruto said as if reading her mind. What? Was her intelligent response. I don't force any of my servants to do anything unless they are active. As of now, since you became a servant, you are in the reserve, you can do whatever you want and join whatever faction you feel like. He shrugged, walking towards the bed. The area on top of the bed shimmered and a sleeping Valerie appeared on top of it. The wielder of Sephiroth growled, so you brought her. Given that she is here, then it is safe to assume that it all went well, but why is she still alive? Have you not extracted it yet, Master? The cloaked figure asked Naruto, observing the sleeping vampire. It all went without problems. You will hear about it later, in some supernatural newspaper later. As for why she is here and alive, it is because she is a special one, had 3 growls inside her. I removed 1 already, the remaining 2 are what is keeping her stable. Naruto answered the cloaked figure. 3 growls? Special indeed. I apologize for questioning your decision. If I am allowed to ask, why did you bring her? It asked, and Naruto shrugged. With the growl in my possession, I can finally find Trihexa. You can say I am in a good mood, so I decided to do her a little favor. Her dream is to be together with her brother again, which is a part of the Gremry girl's peerage, so I will grant her a chance at that. Because of how my body was made, me and Red share the common domains of dreams, wouldn't hurt me to try hers. The cloaked figure nodded. That is understandable, master, but what about her? It pointed towards Calawarner, who was quietly watching from a sofa. Calawarner tensed a bit at being mentioned, but remained silent. I have plans for her, but for now, nothing major. Naruto answered simply, and the figure nodded once more. I see, it said to itself. Is there anything else that you require of me, master? Naruto nodded. There is. I need you to call my general. The time is coming near and a storm is approaching. Crom has been looking for a fight. If that is my god's wish, I will obey. I must be going now, master. Must keep my cover, will return as soon as I am needed. It then added and created a blue magical circle underneath it. After the cloaked figure left, Naruto stared at Valerie and a black blanket appeared on top of her. Then he turned towards Calawarner. I will be away for the rest of the day and you're going to stay here and watch her in case she wakes up meanwhile. Tell her that I will arrange for her to meet her brother later, and that it is best for her not to wander around the city. So you want me to babysit? Calawarner asked, and Naruto nodded. Yup, that is exactly what I want you to do, shouldn't be too hard. He shrugged. Calawarner groaned. If Naruto heard or cared, he certainly didn't show it. Don't think I have a say in this, she said to herself, and Naruto nodded. Thought so. Is this really all you need of me? She asked and received a blank look in response. How long are you gonna take? I should be back at night. We'll have to see the Gremry girl and do some stuff. Feel free to order anything for lunch and dinner within reason, he said, walking towards the balcony. A light twinkled in Calawarner's eyes for a brief moment. Wait, there is something I need you to do for me. Seeing him turn his gaze on her, Calawarner fidgeted slightly. Rainier had this plan to take the sacred gear from an exiled nun to give to Azazel. The nun should be arriving today along with a group of exorcists, and I don't think Rainier remembered to call it off before heading back to the Grigori. Maybe she could be of use to you. Naruto stared at her for a few seconds blankly and sighed. For as much as he himself disliked bringing others into his problems, he knew that he would need help if he were to destroy Trihexa. Then he would need all the help necessary, if not to aid in the fight, then to keep the other factions busy. Do you know who this nun is and what is her sacred gear? Calawarner nodded. Her name is Asia Argento. She was exiled for using the Twilight Healing on a devil. Twilight Healing, Naruto repeated and then disappeared. He really should stop doing that, Calawarner said to herself, looking where the masked person was, only to stare that it was also gone. Great. Ko bus station. Excuse me, do you know where the old church is? Asked a polite blonde girl wearing a nun's outfit to another woman in Koa's bus station. Unfortunately for the nun, the woman just ignored her and went on her way. Looking around worriedly for a few moments, the blonde nun nodded to herself and went out of the bus station. Ploft. On. She tripped on a rock. The people around stared as the clumsy girl got back to her feet with some tears in her eyes. Patting her clothes to remove the dust, she looked around towards where the majority of people were going and wandered off in that direction, occasionally asking the random pedestrian for information, but only to be ignored. After around 30 minutes wandering around, she came to a street with a park in the end of it. Thinking of it as a nice place, she decided to go to it. Bump. So distracted that she went face first into something hard along the way and fell on her bottom. Ouchie. She rubbed her face with the hem of her shirt. Why, hello there, she heard somebody say in front of her. It took her around 10 seconds to realize that she actually understood what was said. Opening her eyes, she saw a shirtless, blonde man with whiskers staring back at her with ocean blue eyes. 3. I'm so sorry, wasn't paying much attention. Are you alright? Naruto asked, extending his hand to his fellow blonde. It was my fault. I'm sorry, Mr. The nun started after getting back to her feet. Naruto, he replied, flashing her a smile. I'm Asia Argento. She shifted around nervously. Is something wrong? He then asked with a worried expression. Do you know where the church is? I just got here and am lost, she said timidly, and Naruto blinked. I can tell. He deadpanned. You're in luck. I do know where the church is. But you seem to me like you could eat something, so how about I show you the city? We got plenty of time. I don't know if it is okay. I really have to go. She shifted a bit nervously and Naruto grinned. Hey, don't worry about it. Church stuff normally happen at night, right? We got plenty of time, might as well show you around, he said, and a twinkle of light passed by his eyes. Asia thought for a bit and nodded enthusiastically. Great, so let's go. He grabbed her hand and started to walk with her. I'm sure you will like Ko, this place is real fun. Where do you want to go first? The mall isn't far and they have lots of stuff to do there. That sounds nice, Mr. Naruto, she replied, staring at their hands. Oh no. No, 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 no. None of that Mr. stuff, makes me feel strange, call me Naruto. Friends don't need such formality. He chuckled. Lots of teenagers passed by in the sidelines, a few still using Koa's shirt. Among them was Issei, who watched the tattooed man with a strange feeling, as if something was very wrong. Chalking it up as his imagination, he simply just continued down his path. Friends? She repeated to herself, but Naruto heard it loud and clear. Well, we aren't already. But you seem alright, so I'm sure we can be friends. He smiled and Asia's eyes lit up like a Christmas tree. Later, Naruto and Asia had a good day. The former took the latter all over the city. As of now, we find the two in front of the hotel that Naruto is staying at. Looking around, Naruto saw a wooden bench and sat on it, then gestured for Asia to do the same. It was fun, huh? Yeah, Asia replied, a bit sad. On her hands was an orange fox plushie named Kurama-kun that Naruto had bought for her. Don't be such a downer. I'm sure we will see each other often. Would you like that? Naruto asked, and then grinned. I would like it a lot. She replied with a tiny smile. I'm serious though, you really don't need to go. The fallen angels left. He then said, surprising the nun. Aye, why-yo, she stammered, and Naruto got up from the bench. Yep, I know, you see. I had a talk with the fallen angels and convinced them to leave and abandon their plans. Some had left in such a hurry that forgot to abort the mission and warn the exorcists. There is no need for you to go with them. They are a headless group and they don't even know that yet. Oh, she said to herself, you knew? He nodded. Yep, I did. I have known for a while and know. I have been honest with you and am starting to consider you a friend. I didn't lie to you when I said that we can be. You are pure-hearted and very kind. I like those qualities. So we really friends? She asked, and he nodded again. Of course, silly, and you don't need to go to the old church. I happen to own this hotel, he pointed at the building behind him, and you can stay in any room on the top floor. I keep it for myself and associates. You can pick any. My room is 1408, in TL. He was stopped by Asia, whom tackled him into a hug. The difference in height between the two was then made very evident. Compared to the whiskered man, Asia seemed quite small. There, Naruto patted her head. So you will stay, that's good. There are two nice people in my room that I would like you to meet. One is a fallen. They can also be your friends if you talk to them. As for me, there is something that I must do, so I need to go for now. Will you be okay? Yes. If you say, then I believe. Asia replied with a smile, and Naruto patted her head once more. Good girl, I won't take long, but before I go, I have a gift for you. He flicked her forehead, earning him a yelp from the nun. Talking won't be a problem anymore. He patted her once more and turned away. Just tell the lady in the desk that you're my friend. I already told them about you. And with those words said, he disappeared into the crowd, leaving Asia to wonder when was it that he told anybody about her. Streets of Ko, some time later. So much to do, Naruto said to himself, and then sighed, his hands tucked into his pockets. At least now I can find Trihexa. Just the thought of the beast was enough to make him scowl. The biblical god had done a good job hiding it, so good that he couldn't find it even with a chunk of his soul. Trihexa and the biblical god were both nothing to scoff at. Normally it would probably take the collaborate efforts of both dragon gods to get rid of the chimera. Naruto felt confident that he could take it out on his own. His body was the perfect combination of the power and flesh of both the original dragon gods. Yet there was a problem. Even with all the power he had accumulated and harvested, he knew that eliminating it would be difficult. Were the two to clash, then it would be no better to the worlds if Great Red were the one fighting it. It can't be a battle, Naruto said to himself, his eyes narrowing. I will have to strike before it gets a chance to fight back. The factions will undoubtedly get in my way. Pushing away his thoughts of his nemesis, Naruto shifted his attention to his newest target, Diodora Astaroth. All it took was one quick glance in the nun's memory to find the wretched devil. Mawajuka, little brother, the type of creature that he despised the most. Stopping in front of a sushi restaurant, he went to the door but was blocked by two of its workers. Excuse me, yes sir, this is a restaurant of our respect. You can't come in with no zero shirt. One of the workers said. Naruto stared down at the two. In truth, he found it all amusing. Two common humans telling him that he can't go. Who did they think themselves to be? To lay claim over a piece of land, a piece of nature, and say who could or couldn't go in it. A simple thought and they would vanish, never to be seen in anywhere but pictures and portraits. Yet luckily for them, the situation was easy to fix. Destruction was easy, very simple and universally understood, yet creation was much harder. To destroy a chair, a table, a continent, or a soul was easy, especially for himself, but to create was much more difficult. To create a soul even more so than regular mundane things, it required time, patience, and lots of knowledge. Both their eyes went dull for a second and gone was the topless blonde man, replaced for an elegantly and noble black-haired man. A simple illusion for those of low minds. Walking into the restaurant, he glanced around and spotted a familiar shade of crimson, Rias, and she was accompanied by her best friend and queen, Akino, whom seemed very distressed. On top of their table was a paper, a note that he himself had left at the heiress's desk before he had went to meet Asia, which said to meet him in the very restaurant. Going over to their desk, he silently took a seat in front of Rias, whom had tensed up completely along with her friend the moment they saw him in front of their desk. Be at ease, I didn't call you here to kill you yet. I called you here to talk, the ambience seems more adequate this time. He said to Rias and then shifted his stare to Aquino. While I didn't call you, you're welcome to stay, granted you don't become an annoyance. Rias coughed into her hand to try and regain her posture and then straightened herself. I need her here with me. I came as you asked. What is it that you want to talk about? Picking up the menu and opening it in front of him, Naruto chuckled, straight to the point, huh? How is your progress? The fun thing about magic is that you don't really need much understanding of a technique to use it. Ridiculous actually, all one needs is a vivid imagination and persistence to make things possible. It was then that a waitress stopped on their table. Ma'am, I want everything from here to here in double doses. Naruto told the woman, showing the menu. Are you sure, sir? The waitress asked, and Naruto nodded. Yup, I'm sure. Off you go. He then dismissed the woman and placed his elbow on the table to rest his head on his hand. I'm trying a technique of my bro. Forget it. Naruto interrupted rudely. Stop trying to follow his steps, you two are different people, he is a failure and a disappointment. You're better off trailing your own path. Rias gritted her. What is it that you have against my brother? He is the Mao, he isn't a failure. Naruto snorted. A title like that doesn't mean anything to me. Did he never tell you? Tell me what? Rias asked Naruto back, her anger rising. Naruto didn't even bother to feign interest. All it took was a simple tap in the desk, a simple touch in it, and all of Rias's power went away. How? She had no clue. One moment she was glaring at the man in front of her, the next she felt weak, very weak. Aquino felt like she should say or do something, but was too afraid to make everything worse. The people around were all none the wiser. Figures, of course he would hide his greatest shame. Truth is, like you, your brother also tried bringing me into his peerage. He was young, barely in his prime, confident in his strength and much more arrogant than you were when we met for the second time. Naruto paused, waiting for her to regain her posture. What happened? She asked, a million things running around her mind. If you really want to know, then you should ask him. While you're at it, ask him how his right arm and leg are. You see, I high hopes for him, he could have been the one, but all he turned out to be was one big disappointment. Naruto replied and then sighed. I didn't call you here to talk about Sirzechs, he can burn in holy water for all I care. Since you like be direct, I will get to the point. Gasper Vladi. Naruto grinned, but before a misunderstanding could come up, he continued, I personally have no use for him or his sacred gear, but I have his sister under my care and she wishes to see her long-lost brother. It was then that 3 workers each holding 2 large trays filled with the exorbitant amount of stuff that Naruto ordered came to their table and started placing the trays on it. There was hardly any space left. Rias blinked, for as much as she was surprised that he knew about Gasper, there was an opportunity right there. Gasper's powers are uncontrolled, I can't let him out. 4. His powers won't be a problem with me around. Naruto answered simply, filling his plate. There is still a little problem, he is a hikikomori, and he doesn't know how to interact with people. It was a strangely embarrassing thing to admit, that she didn't have control over her own servant, but nonetheless it was what it was. But let's say I get him to come out, what is in it for me? Rias then asked, using all of her willpower to suppress the upcoming smirk. Aquino seemed to like her king's trail of thought, and adopted a small smile. Naruto leaned back into his chair and closed his eyes. What do you want? Sweeter words couldn't have been said to Rias. I want you to help me cancel my engagement with Riser. Rias said loud and clear, filling her plate. No. Naruto declined simply, opening his eyes and meeting Rias's own. This time instead of the normally bored or amused stare, his golden cross-shaped eyes were void of any emotion, a mirror that reflected his current feelings perfectly. Nothing. Thankfully for them, the feeling soon passed and his eyes regained that one sparkle. I am a neutral mediator. My job is to annihilate and destroy any and all creatures and factions that threaten the world. I can't simply meddle with a teenage devil's wedding. You can be sure that if I put my foot down just for that, the consequences will be severe. So something else then, Rias said mostly to herself, rubbing her chin in thought. How about information? Information? Naruto repeated with a raised brow. Yes, Rias straightened herself. I have been thinking, in the books, especially the ones about the Great War, they always show you as a monster or some type harbinger that cares about nothing more than destruction, yet here we are, eating sushi. Are those books? Some people just have too much free time. He sighed. I lost control. I had went to stop the 2 heavenly dragons, then kill all the leaders and generals in the place. God, Maus, Seraphs, Azazel among others, but I lost control. You lost control? Rias asked, and Naruto sighed once more. Something that he noted to be doing quite a lot recently. I was fighting the 2 heavenly dragons, happened right after I tore off Albion's wings. My mind went blank. I probably should have died that day, losing conscious in the middle of a gigantic war, but I suffered not a scratch. I woke up in a pool of blood, none of it apparently my own. Wasn't one of his proudest moments, but he had moved past it. I see. Do you remember what happened that day? So many questions. What is it to you? he asked, glancing between the two devils. It isn't like any of this information is going to help you with your problem. To Rias, that pretty much marked her limit of liberty with him. It won't, I just wanted to know the whole story. It isn't every day that you get to have dinner with the boogeyman. Naruto's brow twitched in annoyance, something that didn't go unnoticed by the other two. So we are agreed about letting Gasper's sister and himself meet, after you convince him to get out. Not quite, there is one more thing I need of you, Rias said, testing her luck. One more thing? You know, I have been in a very, very good mood today. I have tolerated and humored you against my better judgment of simply just smiting you and taking the boy. Now I wonder if I shouldn't just erase you two right here and now. Please do tell, what is it that you want? It was at that moment that she realized that she had fucked up. But now that she made her bed, then she should sleep on it. I want you to train my peerage. It came off a bit different from what she had imagined and intended, but it was what it was. Nothing more subtle came to her mind at the moment. Closing his eyes, he stared to turn his head around as if removing the stiffness from his neck and thinking. Take an apprentice, it has been so long, he said to himself, then opened his eyes and stopped. I can do that, but it would be something apart, and I don't ever take more than one apprentice at a time. Rias sighed, wondering why it would be something apart, but even if just one, it could end up being worth it. So can you train one of my peerage then? While she probably wasn't counting, Naruto certainly was. His first advice had came to her as a book, and now it was the time of a favor. It was all a matter of time and moment. If he were right, then he wouldn't have to do anything at all. I suppose I can, but neither of the two of you, Gasper, Vladi and the pervert, are compatible with my style. Well, the pervert could be compatible, but it would take too long. So only Kiba and Kaneko? Rias asked, and Naruto nodded. My fighting style is very unique, requires an extreme amount of speed, strength and endurance. The knight has high speed but lacks on strength and endurance, while the rook has high strength and resistance but low speed. While you, he pointed at Akino, have the aspects of both pieces. Close combat isn't your area. Akino pouted, he had a point. How is your type of training and fight style? Or the one you plan to teach if it isn't your personal one? Rias then said, trying to get as much information as possible. Wild and aggressive, though when you have my strength and power, any type of style is impossible to use my style to its fullest without a combination of various skills that only I have, but the style in itself can be taught and passed. He went back into eating. While it may have seemed that he was giving a lot of information, he really wasn't. There wasn't anything that they could do with what he was saying. How long will the training be? That is up to you to decide, though you should know that you will have to be the entire time without seeing my apprentice. My training is harsh, both for the body and for the mind. There can't be any distractions. You can expect that during it, the life of your servant will be reduced to training, eating and sleep. Rias, are you sure of this? Akino asked her friend. We can train on our own like how you have been doing. Rias bit her lip. It was a tough decision to make. He's right. She finally said, that is how it has to be. To beat Riser, we need to train harder. We all can't drop out on school, but if only one of us did for a while, then there wouldn't be that big of a problem, I accept. Do you know which one will you teach? Akino didn't like the idea of letting Kiba or Kaneko on his hands for an indeterminate amount, but it wasn't her call. Naruto continued eating. The Nikomata, between her and the knight, she is the one most compatible with my style, and the most likely to adapt better to it. Also, she doesn't know any type of martial art, nor has she had a proper tutor, so she is easier to teach. His reasoning was sound, but something bothered Rias, his interest. I thought you didn't like us, yet you researched my peerage? I don't like any of you, nor do I have any dislike. I also didn't need to research any of you. I could tell after 5 minutes observing. Wasn't all that difficult, he shrugged as if it were something natural. Rias sighed. For some reason she should have expected something along the lines. When is Kaneko going to start? That is for you to decide. This is something only of your interest. I don't need or want to apprentice. My last one caused me enough trouble, he said, remembering his last apprentice of a long time ago, a monkey. You have time to think. Let's finish this meal. In a special hotel in Ko, 3 girls slept peacefully together in a near divine bed, one holding on to the other. Asia, Valerie and Calawarner, a nun, a vampire and a fallen angel. On the previous day, Valerie had a simple awakening. At first she had thought that it was all just a dream and that everything was as usual, that the guards would come knocking at her door to check if she had ran, or to bring her for exams. But instead of the usual guards, she met with a purple-haired woman, Calawarner. Which made her realize that it all did happen. Which made her realize and notice that it wasn't her room, it wasn't her bed, and that her coffin wasn't even around. On one side she was sad, her family was most likely dead, and while she didn't harbor many feelings towards them, she didn't want them to die. While on the other side she was somewhat happy. Happy that she would get to see her brother once more. Calawarner then confirmed what she already knew, that she was a prisoner, that she couldn't leave the hotel and that she had to wait for him to set things up for her to meet with her brother. Then she was explained that they were both on the same boat, and that Calawarner was in fact a slave of his. The two then talked about various things, ranging from what type of person Naruto is, to their living conditions before getting taken by him. Which was when Asia arrived. The clumsy and innocent nun, that was completely unaware of the things that were going on around her. It was hard not to like the girl. At first Calawarner tried to keep somewhat of a distance, given what she and the others were going to do to her. But she was persistent, and small talk came and went. When the Fallen noticed her situation, the three were casually talking like friends. Naruto never returned that night, or he did and didn't announce his presence. They were all passing through a time of change in one way or another. Said man was there leaning against the door of the room with his eyes closed, still like a statue. If he was breathing or not was impossible to tell. He just stood there. Seconds passed, then minutes and hours until they finally started to stir awake. First Calawarner, then Valerie, and finally Asia. Calawarner moaned, stretching her arms a bit. This is so comfy. Asia hummed in agreement. Just a few more minutes, Valerie whined, squeezing her eyes shut and hugging onto Asia. Slowly opening her eyes, the first thing that Calawarner saw was the golden strands of hair of her new friend Asia, reminding her of their sleepover and how they ended up in the same bed. They had just spent so much time talking and chatting in Valerie's room that by the end of it they decided to simply just sleep where they were. A few seconds passed, and the others also started opening their eyes. Ugh, what time is it? Valerie asked, making herself semi-upright and rubbing the sleep from her eyes. It's 8. Answered Naruto from the door while opening his eyes, alerting the three of his presence. Ah, Naruto-san, good morning, Asia said cheerfully upon seeing her first friend. Good morning to you too, Asia. Naruto replied with a small smile, something that seemed completely alien to the other two. Calawarner blinked 3 times to make sure what she was seeing was real. Opening his hand, black dust accumulated on top of it and formed into a golden cup, Sephiroth Grail, and tossed it towards Valerie's lap, where it stayed for a second and then disappeared into her. Huh! Valerie muttered dumbly, the gears in her head slowly getting up to speed. I already got in contact with the Principle of Life and obtained the information I wanted along with several other things. I don't need it anymore and I don't see a reason to hold on to it any longer. Naruto replied. Own, complicated words. Does Naruto-san and Valerie-san also use sacred gears? Asia asked innocently, not in the least bothered or hurt that they hadn't told before. Calawarner's reaction was more of understanding, as it now made sense why she felt that Valerie had something inside of her. Until the gears in her head started spinning, making her realize several things out of place. If that cup was her sacred gear, then how was she still alive? And why did she feel like there was something inside her before he returned it? Valerie quickly thought about a reply, and was about to answer her, but Naruto beat her to it. Yup, she has the Sephiroth Grail, one of the Longinus. Yua, a Longinus! Asia exclaimed in surprise, and then paused and thought. What is a Longinus? If the two hadn't just woken up, they probably would have facepalmed, but instead they just simply sighed. They are a class of very powerful sacred gears capable of breaking the world's balance. Hers is the Holy Grail, or at least the closest thing to it. Naruto replied offhandedly. Closest thing? Calawarner asked with a raised brow. The original one shattered to pieces some time ago. Its fragments are scattered across the globe. Naruto answered, then paused for a few seconds. I believe the church has 2 fragments, and I myself have 2 as well. I should probably find where the others are. What about you, Naruto-san? What's your sacred gear? Asia asked innocently, and Naruto turned away from and opened the door. Sorry, but that's a secret. I'll tell you it someday. For now, you 3 get ready. Breakfast will soon be here, so don't take too long, he said and left the room. It took a full hour for all 3 to get ready, relatively quick taking certain things into consideration. In the living room was Naruto, on a dining table filled with foods of all sorts, cereals, juices, pancakes and things of the sorts. Calawarner and Valerie blinked owlishly. The whole treatment was odd for them, one being a slave while the other is a prisoner. Asia was the first to go join him on the table, followed by Calawarner, and then Valerie. This is so wonderful, Naruto-san. We must pray to the Lord and thank him for this, Asia said and then started to pray. A habit that the other 2 were still getting used to. Valerie because as a damper, holy things still bothered her, and Calawarner for more personal reasons. Her habits, however, didn't bother Naruto one bit, besides the fact that she was praying for a creature that he had killed and devoured. As long as he was near, for her own good, her prayers wouldn't go to Michael and the system. I believe this is the first time in a while that you have eaten with friends, right? Naruto thought to himself as he stared at Asia. It was what he wanted to say, but his lips wouldn't move, probably because he already knew the answer to that. Her mind was crystal clear to him. He didn't even need to use his powers to see through her, because in the end she is just like him, or at least like what he used to be, and what he would have become if circumstances allowed it. Time had changed him. More than 1,000 years of battles and destruction had shaped him into what he now is, but he had never forgotten the place he came from and most definitely the person he was. Like the past him, she knows loneliness, knows how it feels to be the one without a family, to have something inside that made people see anything but who you are. A holy maiden, the fox boy, never Asia Argento or Naruto Uzumaki. On top of the table in front of him, a red metallic bottle subtly appeared, so subtly that only Valerie noticed. Drink, he said / ordered while pushing the bottle towards Valerie. She stared at it for a few seconds, then glanced at him. He was eating the pancakes on his plate. Seeing no other choice, she brought the bottle near her face and took a whiff. Instantly her eyes widened and her fangs grew larger. It was blood, and boy was she thirsty. Her body pretty much acted on its own from then onwards. By the time she had regained her senses, everybody was finishing their breakfast, and she was with her lips nearly glued to a still full bottle with fresh blood, and strangely enough, she also was feeling full. Removing her lips from the bottle and cleaning them with a napkin, she blinked twice. She was feeling great, in total bliss. She was full. Being full was the closest a vampire could ever get to nirvana. Such a thing was almost impossible to accomplish without committing genocide. Why? She asked him, and he blinked and sighed. Well, you need to eat, and today you're all going to have a long day. I was thinking of making this place a little more homey, and you three are going to help me with the decoration. You two also will need to get new clothes, so we will work on that also. He pointed at both Valerie and Calawarner at the end. Not that, I mean, why this? Valir asked again, gesturing round, and while she wanted to at least seem a bit angry, her body wouldn't allow her due to the bliss she was feeling. Asia, since we are all done with breakfast, can you go call room service to come clean up? It's that phone over there, he said and pointed towards the other side of the room. If they had paid better attention in the place, they probably would have known that there wasn't a phone there before. Thankfully for Naruto, none of them were that much aware. It was actually quite alarming, and he then knew that he would have to work their spatial awareness. The nun, oblivious of the fact that he had basically shooed her away, nodded happily and went towards the phone. Once she was off hearing range, Naruto turned towards Valerie once more. Okay, look, I will only say this once. Your stay in here doesn't have to be a bad thing or an unpleasant experience. There is no need for any more violence on my part. I have achieved what I wanted, and a bit more, so as long as you play nice, things will remain the same and you will get to meet your brother, he told her simply. Valerie couldn't help but feel that there was a but somewhere in there. However, her time ended when Asia returned. They said they are on their way, Naruto-san. Asia told him once she arrived, and he nodded. Thank you, Asia. He smiled at the girl and got up from the chair. I will be at my own room waiting. In 2 hours we leave to go shopping, he then said and left the room. Hours later. Naruto, my boy. Welcome. Was starting to think that you wouldn't show up anymore. Oh, who are these? Friends of yours? Asked a certain old lady as her favorite customer walked in, accompanied by 3 other women, Calawarner, Valerie and Asia. The sun was still up and bright, and they had just about finished shopping and had everything sent to the hotel. Calawarner and Valerie hadn't pulled any punches when it came to buying new clothes. The two made it their personal objective to use as much money as possible. However, what they didn't know was that Naruto was slowly buying the entire city under different aliases, and all places they went belonged to him in one way or another. They're my friends, boss, and meet Asia, Calawarner and Valerie. Naruto introduced the 3. Nice to meet you 3, have a seat. Naruto's friends are always welcome here. The old coot is in the kitchen, but he feels the same, Riho replied with a grandmotherly smile. Naruto took a seat along with Asia and glanced at the other 2. The message was quite clear for them, so as such they followed right after. I would like the usual, Oba-san. What will you 3 have? Naruto asked them, and each got a menu. I don't understand what is what. Can I have the same as Naruto-san's? Asia asked after looking at the menu. Sure thing, sweetheart. Naruto normally has miso. Ah, thank you. May the Lord bless you. Asia clasped her hands in a prayer gesture. By now they were all already used to her habits. I want to try this one, tonkatsu, Calawarner said after looking around the menu. Me too, Valerie said right after the fallen, coming right up. How have things been for you lately, Naruto? Yui has been asking about you, Riho said, piquing the interest of all 3 girls, for different reasons. Just been busy running some errands here and there. Is she alright? Naruto asked, actually showing concern, something that actually surprised Calawarner and Valerie. She has been getting better since last time, been getting some color in those cheeks. She's upstairs in her room. Want me to go call her? Riho asked, and Naruto nodded. He could tell that she was feeling a bit more relieved lately by her general posture. Actually, Basan, can I go call her? You shouldn't have to bother yourself, and I wanted to surprise her, he said, and Calawarner started looking at him strangely. It was like he was an entirely different person. Ah, yeah, you can. Just go up the stairs into the hallway. Her room is at the end of it, a red door. I'm sure she will be happy to know you're here. Giving her a nod, Naruto went up the stairs and instantly saw her door. It was open and he could see the opposite side of a bed, and in it, the glimpse of a pair of tiny white feet loosely wrapped up in a light blue blanket. Quickly, but silently making his way towards the room, he stopped by the door and looked inside, and there she was laying upright on the bed with a book on her hands. She did indeed seem to be gaining color. Her skin had gotten a soft tan and her cheeks a light tone of pink. She was still very pale and thin compared to a normal and healthy girl, but the progress was there. Knock knock. Eep. She squeaked, closing the book in surprise and bringing her knees closer to her chest. Basan was right, you really do look better, Naruto said, walking inside the room. Surprised by both his sudden appearance and his words, Yui's cheeks went from her newly acquired pink tone to a full-blown crimson blush. Hearing a chuckle, she started to relax. And Naruto-san? Is that you? Don't say those things. It's me. He sat beside her on the bed. Basan said I could come in. Are you alright? She paused and thought. I am feeling better. That's good. I'm glad. Is that book good? he asked her, settling his eyes on it. Unfortunately, he had never before gained interest in Braille, and as such, he really didn't have the slightest clue of anything in it. It's a collection of stories and fairy tales, it's nice, Yui replied, letting it rest on her lap and caressing the cover. Is that so? Naruto hummed. Maybe one day you can read me some of them. I can read you some now, I just got started with it. We can read together. A cute pink blush made its way towards her cheeks. Naruto chuckled, a low, soft, and throaty chuckle. He could see that she was trying, and it was good enough for him. Yui mistook it for mockery and turned away from him. You're a bully, go away. Hey, he placed his hand on her shoulder, and she tried to move away, but she was already out of room in the bed. It's not like that. I would like to read it with you, just at another time. Gigi and Basen are waiting for us along with some of my friends. I brought them here to meet you. Can't keep them waiting for too long, can we? She paused and thought. You brought friends? I did. Do you want to meet them? They are downstairs waiting for us. He took her hand and brought her up. You think they will like me? She asked, and he grinned. Not that she could see, of course. Of course, what's not to like? He brought her hand to his elbow. It wasn't like any of the girls really had a choice besides Asia. Calawarner was warned that there would be severe consequences in case she did anything funny, and Valerie was too terrified of him to try anything in general. He kidnapped her in the middle of her faction's castle. She was pretty sure that she wouldn't get too far. Asia didn't need anything of the sorts. The nun was genuinely kind and friendly. And so the two went. Yui latched onto his arm and using him as a guide. No way, Calawarner thought upon seeing the girl. What she was seeing was the exact opposite of what she expected. Nothing of the place was what she expected. She figured that due to his power he would prefer something more glamorous, not a simple ramen bar, and certainly not a sick, blind girl. Meanwhile, in a building nearby. You arrived early, Crom, Naruto said, leaning onto the balcony as a man with heterochromatic eyes came beside him. The place where Naruto was observing was none other than Ichino's, where his clone and newest companions were at. I was in a nearby city when you had me called. So the time has come to start with the plan? Crom asked, following Naruto's gaze. Naruto nodded. Yes, now that I found the beast, it is time to start. To think that it was in the end of the world all this time. It's as powerful as I expected. The biblical god did the right thing in sealing it at the time, that outrageous old man. The seals placed on it are no joke, but they shouldn't be a problem. I see. Crom narrowed his eyes and thought, so how would you like me to go? Where should I strike? For now, you must steady your hand. I want to see how many allies we can get among the factions before we start laying siege against them. Midgarstorm is already with us for the apocalypse. I will try to gather the remaining dragon kings and bring back Vritra. Hades would also probably like to take part in this. I can also convince Michael to support me as well. I believe he is having a hard time managing the system. I see. I get why you would want Hades and Michael to our side, but the Dragon Kings? Look at them, they hardly deserve the title anymore. Crom replied, narrowing his eyes. Deserving or not, they are still quite powerful, could be of use to us, and I would like to avoid slaughtering our own kin. Wouldn't hurt to try diplomacy for once. Naruto replied, remembering a certain former Dragon King that lived in the underworld. I understand. Crom sighed. If I am allowed to ask, what are your plans for them? They are all weak, can hardly be of any use to your plans. He gestured towards Ichino's. Humph, you can ask whatever you want, me answering it is an entirely different thing. He paused and closed his eyes. The big crow has arrived in the city. It's about time. Crom blew out a stream of black fire. You sure you want to make alliance with him? I don't see why we need to do such a thing. They are weak, we can just simply crush them all. Or wait, don't tell me that this is the old you speaking. Is he really coming back? You will watch your tone, Crom. Naruto glared and Crom immediately averted his eyes from him. I put up with your sarcastic comments because I find them to be quite amusing, but don't you dare disrespect me. There are reasons for my decisions, leave them for me to deal with. Black smoke then gathered around the space besides Naruto and formed into a perfect copy of him, which then vanished in a burst of speed. Crom nodded with his head down. My apologies, Lord. Is there anything you desire of me? Yes. A paper appeared in his hand. I'm gonna start that little project of mine and gonna need you to help me manage it. Crom looked up and took the paper. If that is my god's wish. Back at Ichino's. Valerie-san, what about you? How did you and Naruto-san meet? Yui asked, already having shared her story of how she met him. Valerie, whom had tuned off the conversation in favor to eating her noodles, blinked. Huh? You and Naruto-san, how did you two meet? Yui repeated and Naruto glanced at the girls. Valerie tried to form a response. I don't remember well, it happened so fast. Naruto chuckled and Calawarner's sweat dropped. We ended up bumping into each other. Was it in a garden? He asked the damper. Getting no response, he took a few bills from his pockets and placed them on the counter. Well, I'm stuffed. What do you say we all go for a walk? Still have plenty of time till night. If I'm not mistaken, there is a karaoke nearby that we could go. Maybe you shouldn't have eaten 6 bowls. Calawarner replied cheekily and Naruto ignored. How are karaokes? I never went to one, Naruto-san. Asia said, looking at him with her big, round, green eyes. Me either, Valerie said from beside her. Naruto scratched his chin. I believe it is a place people go to sing and hang out. To be honest, I also never went to one, but I heard about them a couple of times. Given his rather limited 21st century contact list, and people he socialized with, he hardly went to any of the modern socializing places that required other people. I don't think I can go, Boss NW. Oh, you youngsters have fun. Don't you worry about me, I will be fine. Riho interrupted her granddaughter, Naruto, you promised to take care of her. Boss Ann. Yui protested, she probably would have been taken seriously if it weren't for the large blush she now had. It's okay, Naruto got up and held the back of Yui's arm. I promised to take good care of her if only they knew the seriousness in those words were. 2 words that were commonly tossed around by mortals as if they had no meaning or worth. Riho stared back at him for a few moments and then nodded. I trust you will, be careful. Sure, you have nothing to worry about. He replied and helped Yui get up from her chair. The rest of the girls, seeing that it was time to leave, also got up. Thanks for the meal, may the Lord bless you. Asia told Riho, clasping her hands in a prayer motion. It was good, Valerie said right after, though she probably meant to use the word great given that she had 6 bowls. And so the 5 left in their own, slow pacing, Yui holding on to Naruto's right elbow, an action that brought her many stares from both those that wandered around the city, and those that walked alongside her, mainly Calla Warner, Valerie and Asia for different reasons, near a river at the same time. Sigh. Now how am I supposed to find him, Azazel said to himself. He had just recently arrived in Ko via Magic Circle along with Donasek, Middlet and Rainer, whom were all to his right, looking down as if they were 7-year-old kids that had just got their ears pulled by their parents. Azazel became very disappointed with them once Rainer explained what they had done. Not only did they disobey him, they nearly started a war by attacking a servant of the current Lucifer's little sister. Yet those 2 things still weren't the worst of it. The worst was that they took help from Hylam. Few knew of his existence as a real thing, even less knew about his methods. Crossing the harvester path was already a sign of bad omen. Being in debt to him was even worse. There generally was only one payment that he accepted, only one thing that Azazel knew that he accepted, and it wasn't gold, silver, art or any type of money. He took souls. It was the payment that he normally took for his services. Yet for some reason that Azazel knew not, he allowed 3 to go and only kept 1. To Azazel that was very suspicious. So he came to Ko in hopes of finding the blonde, apologized and prayed that it would be squared. Problem was, he hadn't a clue on how to find him. After all that he had seen in the war, he had took it to avoid the blonde to the best of his abilities. Plus he hadn't a clue on what race he were. If he knew, then he could check the most common places that they go to more efficiently avoid him. Releasing a sigh, Azazel started walking. The other 3 following close behind, too ashamed to even look at him in the face. Though he himself didn't want to talk with them either. Just as they were about to leave the riverside, a flapping sound was heard above, making them all look upwards to see a small piece of paper, fluttering along the wind towards them. Catching it as it passed by him, Azazel's eyes glazed over its surface. He raised his brow and pocketed it away, then glanced around the riverside. Well, okay. In the Occult Research Club. Is there something wrong, Bucho? Is it about the exorcist? Issei asked Rias, whom had just called all of her peerage sans Gasper to the club room. Not this time, Issei. Please sit down. Rias gestured towards the sofa where Kiba was seated at. Kaneko was on a separate couch while Akino was standing near the wall. Issei wondered for a few seconds what she meant and then sat down, internally cursing Kiba for being handsome. Well, as some of you may have noticed, I have been away lately. She paused as Kiba, Kaneko, and Issei nodded. It is because I have been training. I came to notice that as I am now, I am weak and have a lot to learn about my magic. But isn't Bucho like super strong? Issei asked, with genuine confusion. Rias resisted the urge to pinch the bridge of her nose. He was a real test to her patience, but she had to put up with it. Getting angry with him would do her no good. I am strong, but not enough. There are many things I can learn which brought me to this decision. From now on, during every break possible, we are going to train. I will train with Akino and you, Issei, will train with Kiba. Issei's expression instantly changed into one of disgust upon hearing that he would have to train along with Prince Kiba, then changed into one of despair once he realized that he wouldn't have any more free time to watch porn, then changed into one of confusion after noticing a few things. What about Kaneko? His question brought all eyes back on Rias, Akino glaring slightly at her, still mad at her for what she had done. Releasing a sigh, Rias steeled her nerves and gathered up courage. What was done was done. She would have to tell them sooner or later. Kaneko won't be training with us, she will be training elsewhere. Elsewhere? Issei repeated and Rias turned towards her rook. Your training will start tomorrow morning. During your training you won't be going to school, do contracts, and I won't be able to see you through it. Rias said sadly, shocking the 3. Kaneko stared back at Rias. It was hard to tell what she was thinking, but thanks to years of knowing each other, Rias could see that she was confused and sad. So Kaneko will be going to a training camp? Issei asked and Rias mentally thanked him for putting it that way. Calling it a training camp made it sound much simpler than it was. Sort of. Yeah, only one of us can go, and you're the most compatible with it. You okay with that? She asked the white-haired Nikomata, bending down in front of her so that she was eye level. Kaneko stared at her for a few seconds and nodded. What Kaneko didn't know was that the question was rhetoric. She didn't have a say or a choice, and Rias didn't want to find out what could happen later somewhere else. Yup, this looks like the place, Azazel said to himself, checking the paper that he found earlier and comparing the address to the structure in front of him. Looking at his watch, he then noticed that there were still 5 minutes till the time written in the paper, 9 p.m. He couldn't say that he was expecting the type of place for a meeting, but given what it was, he wouldn't complain because it was actually his type of thing. It was a nightclub, a very fancy one by that, 3 stories tall, filled with people inside and outside trying to get in. Ignoring the rather large line of people trying to get in, he along with his subordinates went straight to the front and stopped by the 2 guards in the entrance, the first a simple brown-haired man and the second a guy with black and blonde hair. The amount of power. The boss is waiting for you inside. He will take you to him, the one with mixed hair colors said, gesturing to the brown-haired one. The amount of power that he radiated was enough to make all of Azazel's danger senses go haywire. He was powerful, very much so, and wasn't in the least timid about showing it. The inside of the club was dark and crowded with people dancing and making out. There were several poles spread across it with dancers on it. On the side on top was the cabin for the DJ. On either side there were 2 bars. The guard guided the fallen angels and opened way through the crowd until they reached a part with several couches near the wall with tables. On the last one, in a closed-off area were Naruto and Calwarner, both on a couch with 2 bottles of champagne on top of it and 6 glasses. Naruto seemed relaxed, his body was lean back and his arms slack, while Calwarner seemed a mixture of embarrassed and flustered. Her clothing was her usual uniform, but for some reason to Rainier and the rest that knew her, she seemed different. Right on time, Azazel. Take a seat. Naruto gestured to the couches opposite to his own. Azazel glanced between the bottles, the couches, Naruto and the glasses, trying to find anything off about them, but since everything was as it seemed and he didn't want to offend, he obeyed. To what do I owe the visit? Don't think you came just to chat with little Olmi, Naruto said and started to pour champagne on their glasses. Azazel looked at his glasses but didn't pick it up. I came here on their behalf. I feel that it is best for me to apologize and make amends for what they had done. Even though they acted on their own accord, I am still responsible for them. I know, drink, Naruto ordered, sliding Azazel's glass closer to him. I already took my payment, but if you want to make amends then I can think of something. A bead of sweat fell down Azazel's face. Here he was, only a meter away from him. Now Azazel was no coward. He had fought against both God and Mouse, heroes and dragons, and he knew the creature in front of him was on a different level. The memory was still vivid in his mind, the countless that he had slaughtered during the war, the futile attempts to stall and kill him, which only resulted in the death of more and more of his men, all without suffering a scratch. He was nervous, and it took all that he had to not show it. But nonetheless he took the glass and drank it all in one shot. Think of something? About that, I was wondering if it is possible for us to come to a deal for her soul. She is one of my own, she has information on my organization, Azazel replied and Naruto's eyes hardened. Her soul is non-negotiable. If you had something I wanted, you wouldn't be sitting where you are now. Her soul is mine and it will remain like that until I decide to either eat it, or release it, none of which I intend on doing any time soon. But none of those things are why I invited you here. And that would be? Azazel asked, glancing at the 3 fallen beside him. I wanted to know what you think of this place. Some humans were kind enough to donate it to me, and then I gave a personal touch, he replied, and Azazel instantly knew that said humans probably didn't exist anymore. Azazel looked around. The place was nicely made, too nicely for it to be the work of a common humans. He could feel that there were several supernatural creatures of various types mixed among the people. He could identify one of the dancers as a low-level yokai along with 2 other bartender. He couldn't tell what species or faction the heterochromatic man that he met in the entrance belonged to, but given his aura, he was quite sure that he belonged to the higher godly tiers. Under other circumstances I could actually enjoy a place like this. Is there a purpose for this? Azazel asked. This is a neutral zone. Any type of aggression is forbidden in here. The creatures you may have noticed are all factionless. Blending in with the human world is difficult when you're an outcast or a renegade. Naruto gestured toward one of the dancers afar. Things were indeed difficult for outcasts. Getting a job was problematic without the proper documents and references, and attracting unwanted attention. A neutral zone, huh? Those are hard to come by, Azazel replied, relaxing a bit. Neutral places were extremely rare. For a place to become truly neutral, the god taking care of the area needed to not have any problems with any other faction, or simply not be affiliated with any. He also would need to be powerful enough to enforce the no-aggression rule. The person needed to be powerful and respected by the gods of other pantheons, which was hard to happen. On another case, the host of the neutral zone had to be feared, something that the blonde in front of him was very much so, especially by those that knew about his existence. And before I end up forgetting, he turned to Calwarner. You start tomorrow. What? She asked in disbelief. You fucking with me? She complained in the moment that those words came out of her mouth. She regretted it. Naruto stared at her blankly for a few seconds, his cross-shaped eyes dilating into a diamond or kite pattern. The tension in the air became thicker and Azazel placed his right hand inside his coat, onto the downfall dragon spear, until all the pressure went away and his eyes reverted into their normal state. Watch your tone when you speak with me, this is your first warning, he sighed. I won't simply hand over money to you, while I know it would only damage your almost non-existent pride. So you will work for it in here during the weekends in which you aren't training. Calawarner nodded quickly, daring not to open her mouth. Good. Naruto leaned back into his chair. Besides, you're already halfway into the job just by how you dress anyway. Calawarner's cheeks immediately lighted up like a light bulb. It was also the very first time somebody had pointed out her style of dress, even though it wasn't a compliment. In heaven, everybody of her rank used similar clothes. Nobody cared if you walked naked in the Grigori, and most people she had apart from those two circles mostly ended up dead or trying to make her get off the clothes. But never had anybody called her out on it, for good or bad. You had mentioned that you could think of something to help make amends. What would that be? Azazel asked, trying to get back into the conversation. Well, you could start explaining why I can smell dragons on you, and why is it so familiar to me? Naruto replied, looking Azazel dead in the eyes. Shit. Azazel thought, getting nervous. Of course, Naruto then said, getting up from his chair and walking towards Azazel, making all of the fallen tense. No wonder you seem familiar, it's good to see you again, Fafner. Almost didn't recognize you in that little toy. He then reached inside Azazel's coat and pulled out the downfall dragon spear. Azazel would have at least tried to stop him, but no matter how much he wanted it to, his body simply wouldn't obey. This is actually pretty decent, not quite on the level of the Longinus, but also not down there with the lower tiers. I had heard rumors about your research on the sacred gears, but this is the very first one I have seen, and while this thing would probably be incapable of bringing out Fafner's full power, it certainly is a nice piece of work, Naruto said after inspecting the artificial sacred gear, then placed it back into Azazel's inner pocket. With the device now with him once more, Azazel started to regain control over his body, along with the other fallen there present. I'll be in a half-devil host? No wonder I couldn't identify his smell, Naruto said with a smile, shocking Azazel. What? How do I know this? Naruto interrupted and then gestured towards his head with his thumb. Well, you told me, sort of. How dare you attack Azazel-sama? You will pay. Donasek growled and glared at the blonde, making Naruto shift his gaze onto him. There was no energy spike and no warning whatsoever. Donasek, who was sitting right there in front of them, suddenly vanished before their very eyes, a speck of dust falling onto the couch after he disappeared. Then without a care in the world, he shifted his gaze back onto Azazel, whom was gritting his teeth in anger. Oh, how scary, such wicked thoughts. Sadly, however, your subordinate is still alive, somewhere in Africa. Like I said before, this is a non-aggression area. Can't guarantee that he arrived in one piece. Naruto chuckled and then took a sip from his glass. For your sake, he better be. Azazel replied with narrowed eyes, making Naruto raise a brow in amusement. Come on, Azazel-chan, this intimidation thing just isn't your gig. We both know there are no bullets in your gun, you don't even know what I am. But that aside, I really didn't call you here for a fight. He then glanced at the other fallens including Calawarner, making them all tense. The big boys need to talk, so enjoy the club and have fun. Many years ago in the underworld, this the place, Sirzechs said to his peerage of Graphia, McGregor, Suji, Serch and Beowulf, gesturing towards a medium-sized tree in the middle of a plateau. So this is where he trained you, what's with the tree? Beowulf, the newest member of the peerage, asked. The casualness in which he spoke to Sirzechs seemed to tick his fellow demon companion sans Sirzechs. This is a spirit tree, they aren't supposed to exist anymore, especially not in the underwood. I would say that it is a little far from home, McGregor said, inspecting the tree. Indeed it is, he planted it there after I finished my training. Well, I don't think I can call it training. He would sit where that tree is. I would ask questions on how to improve my abilities and he would tell me what exercises I should do. Can't say we had a relationship, he was sort of a dick back then, but he was the only one who actually helped. Sirzechs replied, going over to the tree. He must be strong. Serch spoke with his usual gruff tone. Sirzechs rubbed his chin in thought. I never seen him fight personally and the books about him aren't trustworthy, books never are. Though for him to last this long he must be really strong, but I'm confident we are more. I think we can beat him. How do you plan on bringing him here? McGregor asked, still inspecting the tree. Like this, Sirzechs said, and countless small orbs of destruction appeared around him. Wait! McGregor exclaimed, seeing what his king was about to do. Are you sure this is wise? These trees are extremely rare, very few exist in the surface, and this is the very first of its kind to appear in the underworld. It isn't wise, but it is the only way I can think of to get him to show up. Try tracking him down, but he's good at staying off the radar. Now step aside. Sirzechs ordered and his bishop obeyed, then with a mental command, all of the orbs went towards the tree and started to erase it, leaving not a single leaf of it behind. He should be coming now, stay close to me. Sirzechs commanded and then looked up to the sky, which was quickly becoming dark. The ground started to rumble and a streak of dark light descended where the tree once was. Incredible, what an overwhelming presence, McGregor said as a silhouette became clear. A tall, blond male wearing a dark, tattered and torn long-sleeved coat, opened in the left side showing his crimson tattooed left arm. My spirit tree, the man growled, locking eyes with Sirzechs. You have quite the nerve to destroy one of my filters. Sirzechs narrowed his eyes back at the man and met his glare. I needed to get your attention somehow, Naruto. You have been eluding me for quite some time now. You inflate your significance if you believe I would actually try to avoid you. Your incompetence is all your fault. But now you have my attention. He started walking in Sirzechs' direction, making all his peerage tense and ready themselves. I have nothing to discuss with you anymore. Whatever you have to say better be good, for they might be your last words. His aura then skyrocketed, shattering the ground beneath them and making Sirzechs and his peerage take several steps back. Sirzechs tried to find the correct words, but the closer the blonde came, the worse the feeling was. Graphia and the rest weren't faring any better. Beowulf, Sirzechs and Suji were all struggling to stay on their feet and remain conscious. I came here to convince you to join my peerage. The words escaped his mouth, and he cursed himself mentally. He had prepared an entire speech for when he found the blonde, but the pressure imposed on him nuked all thoughts of any speech he had prepared. However, what Sirzechs didn't know was that it was in fact one of his abilities. By imposing his presence and will, he could clear all thoughts of those around him and force them to say the truth. 1. Peerage? Naruto repeated, stopping a few meters away from them. Yes, they are groups based on chess. Everyone in the group represents one or more piece of chess. Sirzechs quickly answered, recovering a bit of his composure. I see. Let me guess, you're the king? That explains the bond one sense between you and them. He glanced at his peerage. You seriously had to date my tree for this? I don't take after D? He said, and the world around them changed, replaced for grassy plateau with several mountains on the background. The sudden change placed all of the devils on the edge. There was no warning, no magic spike, nothing. Humph, Naruto snorted, the soil is still good, won't take me much to recreate the tree. The underworld is too inappropriate for battle, this place can take damage better. This is a dimension of my own, it used to belong to a certain goddess, but she won't be needing it anymore. Let's see how much you have grown, Sirzechs. If you want to make me bow, then I welcome you to try. Suji, Sirzechs and Beowulf glanced at each other, and then at Sirzechs, who nodded at them, launched themselves towards Naruto. Suji arrived first, appearing in front of the blonde in the blink of an eye, sword unsheathed and ready to bisect his opponent. However, just as the blade reached its target, Naruto bent backwards in a 90-degree angle, making Suji pass by harmlessly. Quickly spinning around, Suji launched himself towards Naruto once more, picking up even more speed as he went. Not even a little impressed by his speed, Naruto sidestepped his slash and glanced upwards to see Sirzechs falling towards him, body blazing with an intense orange fire. The fire giant impacted harshly against the floor, bringing up a cloud of dust, something that didn't hinder their sight one bit. McGregor extended his right hand upwards and a dark magical circle appeared in front of it, and from it shot a bolt of dark lightning towards the now airborne blonde. However, just as it reached him, he vanished in a burst of speed. Seeing it all, Graphia took a step forward, aimed her right hand towards where Naruto was landing, and just as his feet touched the ground, he was encased in a large pillar of ice. You got him! Beowulf exclaimed, looking at the frozen man, but Graphia shook her head in a no gesture. After image, she replied, just as the image of the blonde started to fade within the ice pillar. Too slow, said a voice from behind them, making them all turn towards the source, to find Naruto sitting in a tree's branch with a half-eaten apple on his hand. If this is all you guys can do, then I'm disappointed, huh? Naruto stopped as he noticed the several crimson orbs around him. I'm much stronger than when I was a little kid, Naruto. Just give up and join my peerage, serving me won't be that bad. Sirzechs replied with a smirk, which soon turned into a frown when he noticed Naruto's look. It wasn't the look one would expect to give when cornered. He didn't show any fear or nervousness, instead he seemed bored. Naruto chuckled and dropped the apple, letting it fall onto an orb and be reduced into nothingness. You overestimate yourself too much if you really think these things can hurt me. Yeah, it's a nice technique, but sorry, nice isn't enough. Suddenly all of the orbs vanished, completely disappeared into nothingness, and Naruto hopped off the branch. What technique was that? Sirzechs thought, narrowing his eyes. I need to see it again. Well, I guess I will have to make you take me serious then, Naruto said, and then glanced at Sirzechs. Rarag! Sirzechs shouted in fury, growing fully into his giant form and completely igniting his body aflame. The suddenness of the action sending Beowulf and Suji flying backwards. The knight getting the worst of it due to being the nearest of the two. That might be a problem, Naruto told Sirzechs from beside him, and right when the redhead created an orb of destruction, he vanished. Sirzechs then charged a fireball in his hand and shot it at Sirzechs and Graphia's direction. Reacting fast, Graphia created a massive ice spike in between them and the giant, throwing him off his balance and making him fall backwards, causing a small tremor to happen. I will deal with him, you deal with Naruto, she then shouted, freezing the ground below Sirzechs. Her eyes, however, didn't last long, being completely evaporated by the giant's flame short after. I will help Yoak. McGregor got beside her and prepared several magical circles, until a sharp pain made its presence in his chest, making him fall on his knees and cough several globs of blood. Fuck! Sirzechs cursed under his breath upon seeing the condition of his bishop. Then started darting his eyes around the area in search for Naruto, which he found besides Beowulf, who was also on his knees, but unlike McGregor, he wasn't coughing up blood, he was instead stuffing his mouth with red raw meat, which was conveniently placed in front of him in a large basket. The Naruto besides Beowulf then turned into dust right as a red beam struck it. "You missed," Naruto said from behind the man, making him quickly whirl around towards him, a magical circle already formed in front of his hands. On his knees in front of the blonde was Tsuji, his hand resting on top of the knight's head. "Because of the time we spent together, I will let you into a little secret. Every time I absorb a soul, I can learn anything that made it special, so I present to you war, pestilence and famine." He gestured towards Surtur, McGregor and Beowulf with his free hand. "I think we both know which of the quartet is missing? Is this enough for you to take me seriously?" "Death." The only one missing was death itself. The strongest and most ruthless of the four horsemen. "I am possible," Sirzechs replied, gritting his teeth in anger. "On the contrary, it's very much possible, and I will unleash it on him and the rest of your kind if you think I am playing around. It is my job to destroy any faction that brings imbalance to the world. Death and pestilence caused quite the ruckus during the Black Plague. I had to bring them to a halt. So come on, take the shot," Naruto said, and Sirzechs' right arm became covered with an immense amount of destruction. The ground started to shake. Surtur stopped his rampage against Grafia to turn towards the two. McGregor stopped throwing up and Beowulf ceased his assault on the never-ending basket of meat. "That's more like it," Naruto grinned, and Sirzechs disappeared. The next thing he knew, a crimson fist impacted against his face, creating an enormous shockwave and sending him flying backwards. Flipping around and adjusting himself in the air, Naruto landed a good 100 meters away with a smudge of blood on his lips and red burnt mark on his cheek, the latter vanishing and healing completely a second later. "Ha! That's the spirit!" The blonde met him midway and both fists clashed against one another, flesh meeting against pure destruction. Empowered by his fury, Sirzechs retreated his arm and disappeared in a burst of speed, appearing behind the blonde in the same instant with his right leg completely covered in the power of destruction. Lifting his right arm just in time, Naruto blocked the kick and sent a left-handed hook towards Sirzechs' stomach, only for the redhead to disappear again and appear beside him, with his left hand aimed towards the blonde's heart. Though Naruto's senses proved to be more than just a match against Sirzechs' speed, and so he spun around evading the hit and sending a palm thrust towards the devil's chest, striking him flat on and sending him flying backwards. Releasing his wings and correcting himself in the air, Sirzechs immediately launched himself towards Naruto, whom also launched himself towards Sirzechs, kicking the air and clashing with him mid-flight. The two exchanged 3 or 4 punches each in the air until Naruto kicked him downwards. Impacting harshly against the ground, Sirzechs quickly got up and launched himself towards Naruto again, half of his body now covered in the power of destruction. The two met by exchanging jabs on their faces, every punch of Sirzechs hits leaving bruises that would heal a second after, while Naruto's made his limbs empowered by the pod flicker, though that didn't stop it from spreading across his body until it completely covered him. For each punch Sirzechs landed on Naruto, the blonde would return one back of equal potency, until after the fourth exchange, Naruto got the upper hand and punched him in the gut, taking away his breath and sending to the floor. Though his fury wouldn't let him stay in the ground, not after what the blonde had done to his peerage, his people, so with even more rage, he got up and delivered an uppercut on the blonde and followed up with a punch towards his chest, and another towards his face, chest, face, gaining more and more momentum after each and every single punch. Somewhere along the way he had turned fully into the pod, and in a punch towards Naruto's face, he stopped, or better yet, was stopped. Naruto's sclera had gone completely black and pupils changed into a diamond shape. Not even a bruise was made from the punch. Grabbing his arm with his right hand, Naruto kneed him in the gut, punched him with his left hand and then roundhouse kicked him away. "I commend you, Sirzechs, you're the first to ever push me this far, but this as far as you will go," Naruto said, as Sirzechs struggled to get up. His body felt numb and his senses had turned dull. Every single hit he had taken was excruciatingly painful, but the last 3 took the cake. His ears had become deaf, his organs were busted and his ribs had turned into powder, yet he still had to go on. It was the one thing the blonde had taught him, to never give up. Coughing some blood onto the floor, he mustered up some strength and slowly got back up, then covered himself in the pod once more. "So be it then," Naruto said to himself as Sirzechs flew towards him. In truth, he was rather proud of how strong he had become. Damaging him wasn't an easy task, even if his regeneration simply nullified it all. Making him bleed was a true accomplishment. Yet despite his feelings of pride for his former student, a fight was a fight. Dodging Sirzechs' punch, he kicked him in the gut and punched his shoulder, dissipating the pod that coated those areas. He then tried to grab Naruto, whom stepped aside and delivered a punch to his face and kicked him to the ground, completely dissipating what remained of his pod. "Is this truly all you got?" Naruto asked him, staring at the back of his head. "Then I should probably end those servants of yours." He turned his back on him and started walking in the direction where Grafia and the rest were, far in the horizon with a large, cracked barrier around them. Sirzechs couldn't hear him, his ears were completely destroyed by the blonde's punches, But he didn't know where it was that he was going, and he couldn't allow it. Mustering whatever remained of his strength, and got up one more time. Seeing the redhead getting up in the corner of his eyes, Naruto turned to him once more. It wasn't just about himself anymore. It also wasn't just about his peerage. Much more was at stake. He couldn't allow such a powerful foe to get away. He had to do something about it. So he covered himself in the pod once more. Only that this time he was giving it his all, every bit and drop of magic that he had. It was it, all or nothing. Space warped around him as he dashed towards the blonde. That didn't move a single muscle. He just stood there and waited. The Crimson Devil struck the former human straight in the chest with the power of 100 nukes, creating a massive explosion that lighted up area completely. Bottom. A heartbeat was heard in the crimson span. Bottom, bottom. The sound became even more clear as the light started to dim down, to reveal a gigantic crater. With Sirzechs standing in the middle, Naruto on the ground, the entire right side of his body missing. It's over. Sirzechs sighed, falling down on his knees, his vision fading away as the stress of the battle came in. Clap. Clap. His eyes widened upon hearing the sound of a set of palms meeting against each other a few feet behind him, and he once more glanced downwards, where Naruto's corpse was, only for it to turn into dust and disappear. Impressive, Naruto said, stopping a feet behind him. Sirzechs would turn around to face his blonde enemy if he could, but his body simply wouldn't obey him anymore. I'm impressed. That really was a dangerous technique. I would be in some serious trouble if I hadn't switched myself with a clone in the last moment, or not. Naruto grinned, not that the devil could see it though. He was on his last legs, he had given it his all, and failed. Ploft. Sirzechs fell to the ground, completely exhausted, and just as he fell, the right half of his body started falling apart, his arm, leg, ribs. You're the first to push me this far in a very long time. I know that someday somebody will rise and best me, but it won't be today, and it won't be you. Naruto pointed his palm towards him, and a small dark orb with 4 whirling blades appeared on it. Goodbye. Just as he was about to release it, a wave of ice magic passed by and froze whatever left of the ground that he was standing on, including his feet and Sirzechs. He turned towards the source of the magic, completely ignoring the ice encasing his feet as if they weren't even there, shattering and destroying it as if they weren't even there. The source turned out to be Graphia, Sirzechs' trusted queen. Her body was badly burnt, her clothes were torn to a few unrecognizable rags, and her skin was dripping with blood, the results of her battle with the fire giant and the collateral damage of his fight with Sirzechs. Looking back at Sirzechs, Naruto realized that the attack wasn't meant for himself, instead it was aimed at the redhead. You stopped his bleeding by freezing him solid. A clever plan, but it won't work. Even under the absurd chances that you somehow managed to grab him from me, leave this dimension, and rebuild his body. The rest of his body will eventually end up collapsing on itself for not having a complete soul. Showing no signs of actually hearing him, Graphia fumbled forward and collapsed, then started rolling down the crater, losing momentum at the half mark of it. Naruto stared at her for a few seconds, then glanced back at Sirzechs. Snap. He snapped his fingers and all the other members of Sirzechs' peerage appeared on the ground, every single one of them frozen solid in a very thick and dense shard of ice, which was probably the only reason they survived the collateral damage. Naruto sighed. Killing such a promising teen would be such a waste. But I can't just let you all walk out of here. You know too much. He locked his eyes on Graphia's back.